Yay! There we
We
go.
be live. Yes, we be
Hello.
live. Hello, Susie's here, guys. Susie's back. See, I told you. People don't believe me. Hi, Susie. We missed you. Like, yeah,
Hi.
sometimes people like tell me, like they tell me, what did you do with Susie? I mean, why is she not here? I'm like, she's gonna be here.
She comes on the
Like,
weekends.
people, yeah, people get offended sometimes when they see me doing live, and then they're like, they don't see you there. They actually sometimes get really offended. They attack
Wow.
me. Guys, make sure you like the stream. Today we're going to be covering some very interesting stories. Very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And today we're doing the show a day early. I see someone is asking why. Why on a Saturday? Because I want to celebrate Easter holiday tomorrow. So, yeah.
Oh, really? Really? You
I
failed
know.
at eight.
Oh
Like,
my
how
God.
dare you?
Oh, atheist
Oh,
exposed. Secret Christian
atheists. Oh,
exposed.
you guys. Why are you enjoying Christian holidays? You hypocrites.
Huzzah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
so funny.
Zombies.
No, here's the deal, guys. I mean, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but here, yeah, how dare you celebrate a Christian holiday? Here, no matter what religion you are, there are some amazing Easter brunches, okay? I'm just here for the very special Easter brunch. It's gonna be awesome. And also, I want to spend time with my family and things. That's important to me. But this is actually a teachable moment. This is a teachable moment. We can enjoy religious holidays without being religious. It's okay. It's actually okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
What about Islamic holidays? Can we participate in Islamic holidays? Yeah,
I know people that are atheists that do Islamic holidays because again, it's the same thing. It's just like this is we spend time with our family during this day. That's the reason.
I encourage it because I think it's infiltration. We're sending our atheists into the community and spreading our corruption on the land.
Infiltration.
Mufsid fil ars. We know. Yeah.
Oh, corruption in the land.
Yeah. Yes,
Armin and I were actually talking about this behind the scenes this week about like the marketing of different holidays and how we need to like globalize different holidays. Like I think we need to globalize Nowruz. I mean, it already is pretty global, but like more mainstream it because it's just such a fun holiday.
Yeah.
But I was saying I don't know if the Islamic holidays have a lot of marketing potential because they just don't seem as fun.
They don't seem
like
as fun.
Nowruz is objectively like looks really fun. It's so colorful and blah blah blah. But then or even what's another example? Purim. We should globalize Purim. You just like immediately that looks super cool. But I don't get the same vibe.
Islam has shit holidays. However, add a little bit of a capitalism on the top of it, commoditization, marketed, and anything, even the shittiest of all holidays, I mean Islamic holidays, once you put it in the market, in the free market, capitalism could make something off of it.
How would we make
where Islam failed, capitalism will, yeah.
I want to know how you would make Ashura cool. How would you make Ashura fun?
You can make it Halloween theme. Oh, I mean, we have seen in Iran how they turned it into like rave. The red
you mean
lights.
Like the Husseinias?
Yeah. They turned it into like a dancing club, gay club looking kind of.
It does.
It does look like gay club.
It's just a sausage fest.
Well, I mean, you take that and then mix some girls in it, and then eventually, like once you secularize it, it could become a place where actually people. I mean,
how can we market hitting ourselves?
Well, actually, let me tell you. When I was a kid in Iran, Ashura was a place where girls went to check out shirtless boys. Because during the Ashura, a lot of young boys would take off their shirt and they would hit on their chest, and girls would be lining up to watch that. So there you go. There's
And they
potential.
also sometimes do like kind of strength contests, right? Because it's like, I'm so filled with the love of Hussein, like I can lift anything. Don't they kind of like lift
Yes,
heavy things?
yes,
Get a nice
yes.
pump going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, we could make it. We could make it happen. We could make it happen. Just less blood, less crying, more lights, more rave music, and add some girls in there, and then there you go. There you go. There you go. See, anything can be
So funny.
saved. Anything can be saved. Yeah.
How do we market this holiday? Step 1, less crying.
Yes, less crying. More dancing, less crying. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Okay. We should. By the way, guys, we're gonna start. We're gonna. We promise this is not gonna go forever. We're gonna actually start doing the news. We would be reading some super chats in between news items. So if you want to support us with super chats between the stories that we do, we're gonna read them. So we appreciate that if you could send us some of that. So Susie, what kind of stories are we doing today?
We are talking about this crazy story that happened in the UK that actually didn't get that much media coverage, which is kind of crazy to me.
Right.
And I have some ideas about why, and it's like not prejudice, but that's anyways. Then one story I'm very excited to talk about is there's been some investigations that have come out about how the Islamic Republic is like utilizing and grooming teenagers to do their anti-Jewish, anti-Israeli attacks. So
Right.
basically how the Islamic Republic is like exploiting Sweden's gang crisis. Very interesting because I've been sucked into the whole kind of like soft power transnational repression networks of the Islamic Republic recently. Then another thing I found very interesting is that here in America, our our defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, got exposed recently for having a very controversial tattoo. And we are going to talk about, is this Islamophobic or not? It's a point of controversy, and also do a little bit of media analysis because I have a problem with how the media covered that story. Finally, one of the stories I'm most excited to talk about is that Kyrgyzstan banned the niqab. And I find this very interesting. And then we're also going to talk about some more Taliban nonsense in Afghanistan. So that's what's on the menu for today.
Well, I'm interested. I haven't actually heard any of these 5 stories anywhere, and I'm very interested. Actually, but the Taliban one I've heard. I'm interested in the tattoo. I want to see what this is. Though I'm seeing it on the cover. Okay, never mind. Oh yeah, you mentioned that to me. That's fantastic. Oh, I love that tattoo. Actually, wow. Okay, never mind.
It's
Never mind.
spicy. It's very controversial right now, and yeah, we're gonna get into it. I'm excited.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. So can we clap for the first news then?
We can clap because the victim survived, and also the perpetrators are in jail. They in jail.
Okay.
So
okay. Good. First news.
First news: kidnapped by jihadis in the UK for being Jewish. This is a crazy story that is only now kind of getting some coverage. In a harrowing case that lays bare the dangers faced by Jews even in the heart of the United Kingdom, 3 men were recently sentenced to over 8 years in prison for kidnapping Israeli music producer Itay Kashti in a violent anti-Semitic plot. The attackers, Faiz Shah, Mohammed Kormi, and Elijah Ogunubi Sime, posed as music executives and lured Kashti to a remote cottage in rural Wales under the guise of a recording camp and assaulted him the moment he arrived. Wearing like kind of Guy Fawkes style masks, they beat him, chained him to a radiator, and threatened his life. Quote, they said that they were going to kill me and they chained me, handcuffed me to a pipe. I was bleeding, shocked, Kashti recalled. His taxi driver also attacked and managed to escape, prompting the kidnappers to panic and flee. Alone and injured, Kashti freed himself and called the police. Judge Catherine Richards ruled that he was, quote, targeted due to his Jewish heritage, and that the plot was motivated by both money and a rising global tide of anti-Israel hatred. Though Kashti has since healed physically, the trauma lingers. Quote, if they do turn into better people, then it was worth locking them up, he said. Okay, so this is a crazy story. And part of the reason why I think it didn't get any coverage is because when this first happened, like basically the victim, Ite, like he, and by the way, people can pronounce me if I'm correct me if I'm pronouncing his name wrong. Is it Ite? Itai? Anyways, he actually didn't give any interviews to the media until after the case was finished. So I think that might be part of why it didn't receive as much attention for how crazy this story is. And the judgment came out late last month. So let's like walk through what happened here from the perspective of the victim. Yeah, go ahead.
One second, Kenny was mentioning, how is this not top world news?
Yeah,
I'm actually shocked that this is top world. Not like Kirk. Let me know what you think. I think if this was a Muslim person kidnapped by a couple of Jewish person, I think this would be world news right now.
Well, yeah, because that'd be much more uncharacteristic.
But okay, so this is so normal that people like, yeah, okay.
I don't know if it's just because this is like a UK thing.
Normal.
I don't know.
It's just normal it's so normal to just be anti-Jewish that it doesn't make the news. Okay. All right. God damn it.
Dude, it's crazy. Right. Okay, so let's go through like the series of events from the perspective of Itai. So basically, he's this random guy. He's from Israel. I think he grew up in Tel Aviv and he moved to the United Kingdom like about almost 20 years ago. So he's been living in the UK for a very long time, like half of his life. And he's a music producer, you know, just doing his career, whatever. And one day he gets an email. And it's an email from some supposed group of like music producers that basically they are saying, oh, you know, we're a fan of you and we want you to come to like an artist retreat. We want you to kind of come to this like artist camp, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, okay, that sounds kind of cool. Like the people that wrote the emails, they don't sound like they're the most knowledgeable in the industry. Like he said in interviews that he describes how he perceived their communications as like they're very green. Like, oh, they must be new to the industry. You know, like that's okay. Like, oh, I'm interested in going to this like artist retreat, this like camp, sure. And so it gets arranged. And they're like, okay, cool. We're going to send transportation for you. And so one day a taxi shows up and at his house, and the taxi is going to take him from his place all the way to the retreat in like a remote area of Wales. So they set up for him to get this transportation in a taxi. So he's now in this taxi for like 5 hours, right? And it's kind of funny in the interviews that he gives, he talks about how when he gets in the taxi, he can tell that his taxi driver is Muslim. And at one point, the taxi driver is like, oh, you know, where are you from? In Ite, like he says, because he knows, because he's Israeli, that a lot of people are going to hate him. so he doesn't, he goes, oh well, I'm not going to tell you where I'm from, like why ruin a nice conversation, basically, like, because he's like self-conscious about it. And but eventually, like, he actually is like, oh yeah, I'm from Israel, blah blah blah, and he actually has like a lovely, really nice conversation for this 5-hour drive with this taxi driver, you know. So anyways, they get to this little remote cottage in Wales that is, I think, an Airbnb that the attackers have rented. And it's actually a super good thing that this taxi driver was with him. And Ite credits this taxi driver, who's Muslim, with like actually helping to save his life. Because when he was going into this like Airbnb or this cottage, in the interviews it's not super clear, but basically there was like something weird about he was having trouble getting in, and the taxi driver was there to like help him. I think probably he was like, oh, can you not leave until I make sure I can get in, because otherwise it's going to be impossible to get another car, like an Uber, out here, right? So the taxi driver is like right with him, actually, like at the door. And he was like, oh man, for an artist retreat, like it seems a little empty. This is a little eerie, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as they actually get into the door or open into the building, he's immediately attacked by these three guys. And they're wearing like creepy, fake masks, like plastic masks. So they're assaulting him, beat the shit out of him, kicking his head. And the taxi driver also gets attacked. And what happens though is that the taxi driver is closer to the door, and he's also a bigger guy. So he's able to flee the cottage. And when the taxi driver runs away, this makes the attackers panic. And in the meantime, they had like taken Ite, they had beaten him, they'd handcuffed him, they'd chained him to this like pipe on a radiator, they'd taken his phone off of him, like taken a bunch of stuff. And he's, in this mentality of like, this is freaking happening right now. Like this is insane. And he's saying, like, as an Israeli, like as a Jew born in Israel, like what I'm thinking of right now is October 7th. He's like, I'm being taken hostage right now. Like, this is my October 7th. And he's thinking about his wife and kids and like, what the fuck is happening right now? Anyways, so when the attackers realize that this taxi driver has escaped, like they weren't planning for this. And so they're immediately probably thinking, oh, this guy's going to go alert the authorities. So they kind of just split and they all just flee. Meanwhile, Ite, like he manages to get himself like unchained from the radiator, because apparently they did a really shit job. Like the descriptions are a little bit unclear, but they chained him to a part of the radiator where it seems like he could just like lift his handcuffs off. I don't know.
Wow.
And so then he's all fucked up. He's injured. His like eye is closed. I think he's still handcuffed at this point. It's not entirely clear. And he grabs his phone that had been sitting, that they had taken off of him. And then he grabs his Martin guitar. And in the interviews he gives, he like repeatedly talks about how he's like, I can't leave my Martin guitar behind. Because for those who are not musicians, like Martin guitars are like very valuable, like they're very special. And so he talks about how he's like, I had to get my guitar. So he grabs his guitar and then he starts running out. And basically he is walking down this road in the middle of freaking nowhere. He looks like all fucked up. He has his guitar. And he sees a car pass him. He tries to wave down the car. The car passes him. And he finds out later that the driver of the car thought that he was signaling to not stop and to go get help. So it's not that the driver like left him behind, is like he thought, "Oh, I need to go get help. So I'm like going to go do that right away." And in the meantime, he calls his wife and is like, "I was almost taken hostage, like what the hell?" And then, sends her his location, and then she sends it to the police and blah 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 blah. Basically, the meanwhile the taxi driver had also gone to alert the authorities. And so and they go find the attackers and everything. And now we've gone through the whole court case, and they had firearms on them. They found the handcuffs that he had like in the bushes and stuff. Like it was crazy. So most of the attackers have been sentenced to about 8 years in prison. The guys that did it were like 20 years old, 22 and 23. And it's so interesting because it's based on what I've seen online or reporting, is that the three of them somehow met online and decided to start organizing this in this Telegram chat. And there clearly is an Islamic angle, but it's very weird. Like it's not entirely clear what their freaking deal is. Like kidnapped by Gen Z. So here's a quote from one of the attackers in a message. Quote, "Each one of us has 100% faith in Allah, so we cannot fail." Quote, "No remorse for a man like this. He ain't just some Jew doing it for the money. He actually loves this shit." So they had come up with this, like, their plot seems to be like somewhat Islamic, but also just based off of like Jewish anti-Semitic stereotypes in general. Like, so for example,
It's the same thing.
they seem to have this belief that because he was a Jew working in the music industry, that he was like super rich. Like that's kind of a stereotype. And in the interviews, he is like, "I'm not rich. I don't drive a Bentley. I have a Nissan." Like, but the idea was to actually like hold him for ransom.
You failed at being a Jew.
Yeah, and they're like they seem to believe that he had some sort of investments in like settlements in the West Bank or something. And he's like, "That's definitely not true. That never happened." It's not even entirely clear why he was targeted, besides just like they found some random Israeli
because he's a Jew. That's why he got targeted. He's a Jew.
Like,
That's
it's not that simple, because there are lots of Jewish people working in any industry. You know what I mean? It's like, why this guy specifically? He isn't even like a super political person seemingly. Like he did a performance to support like hostages in Israel, but that seems like it was about it. And they're like, they just believed that he was like some rich Jew working in the music industry, and they're like, "This is our guy." And they had very clear like anti-Jewish animus in their text messages. And the judge talks about this in some of the statements that have come out, basically being like, it's very clear with the way that they talk about him that they deem him as like less worthy of dignity or respect, and like because he's a Jew. Like it's very clear in the way that they're talking about him. And this poor guy is like in interviews talking about like, it made me wonder if I made the right decision to live in the United Kingdom. Like I've been here for almost 20 years. Like, is this right? Like, am I safe here? Like after an experience like this, you like fundamentally question if you're safe. Like it's a complete, I don't know how to put it. Like your trust has been broken.
Makes you think that maybe you need a country for Jewish people to protect themselves. Makes you wonder. Maybe that makes you think like, maybe like there's nowhere safe for Jews, and maybe Jewish people just required to have a place that they could have as their own country. Maybe these three stooges helped us understand why Zionism is a thing.
Yeah. And anyways, like he talks about how you know, his friends or family back home will be like, "Oh, do you like living in the UK? Are you safe? Do you experience anti-Semitism?" And he said he's like, I can honestly say I have not experienced anti-Semitism in the UK like until this. Like this is crazy. He also had this joke in one of the articles where he was like, um I I don't know if I can find it, but he's like, only a Jewish or Israeli born person would get kidnapped and beaten and say that they were lucky. Like basically saying like, I'm lucky that that's the only thing that happened to me. Which is kind of like gallows humor. Um, but yeah, this was I don't know why this has not gotten more coverage. This is insane. The only
Yeah.
what I think is part of it is that kind of he hasn't really come out publicly in the media until after the court case wrapped up.
This should be a movie, I think. I mean, it's just like so normal. Like, yeah, yeah, another. I don't know. So many people don't know. Do people know how the level of anti-Jewish? And by the way, some people are saying Muhammad was saying like, oh yeah, Europe has fallen. Maybe Jews should be like some other people, and Muhammad and other people were suggesting that maybe United States is better for Jewish people than European countries. Honestly, there's nowhere on this planet that Jews is so. It's just so the stress associated with being a Jew is just so high. A lot of people, I don't know if they understand it, and I think maybe some younger Jewish people also did not understand this up until recently. Up until October 7th, they're now noticing because I noticed a lot of younger Jewish people in Europe and North America thought like, oh yeah, it used to be a thing for our parents and grandparents, and now everything is okay. And now a lot of the anti-Jewish hatred that always exists within under the surface of society is like re-emerging again. And a lot of younger Jewish people in North America and Western Europe are like, "Oh my god! Like, what the fuck? Like, this is still here. This is still here."
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
that wasn't really the question though. It's like where is better? You know, there's definitely places that are
Israel,
better than others. It's
Israel's, Israel's better. Israel's
no, but
better
I mean,
still, even with October.
it's a
Mhm.
spectrum though. That's what I'm saying.
Right. There are some people in the chat, some Muslims and anti-Semites in the chat are saying like, "Oh, well, IDF kidnaps children and tortures them, and Israel does this as well." I'm
You are
like, first,
literally a demonstration of what the problem is and have the same mentality as these freaking kidnappers.
yes, yes,
You
yes, yes,
self-expose ass. Like that's exactly the problem is this guy is just a random guy.
yeah. And also, like I've looked into some of those cases that people talk about. Like these are when they say children, they're talking about people who are like 16 and 17. When you say children, I think like, oh my god, did the IDF like kidnap like an 8-year-old and is torturing an 8-year-old? And then I look at it and it's like a 17-year-old that just picked up a freaking giant rock that could kill somebody and throw it at the police, or some 16-year-old that was going stabby and random people in the street. I'm like, oh, and then they get arrested and put to jail. I'm like, oh my god, IDF kidnapped children. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? You said children, and I thought like it's a 5-year-old or 7-year-old. This is a 16-year-old that is going stabby on people. Of course they should get arrested. But yeah.
Let's go through the social media comments that our lovely editor D found.
Oh my god, look at these people.
Yeah. No, okay, can I tell you something that's kind of funny? Is that these idiots in the court proceedings, some of their lawyers were like throwing them under the bus for being like idiots. Like wait. Let me find the quotes. Wait, I have to share these quotes. The the lawyer representing one of them said admitted that the plot was, quote, not very well planned and went wrong immediately, but his client felt regret and remorse. Another lawyer representing one of them admitted that the plot had been highly amateurish in its execution, but he also felt genuine remorse.
Okay.
In some of the reporting I've seen of the court proceedings, like everyone is roasting them for how shit their hostage job was.
Yeah.
They're like, because it literally did go wrong immediately. It went wrong immediately.
I mean, if I was a lawyer, I would be like, for these three, I would be leaning into that so much. It's like, Judge, I mean, these are obviously not very smart people. Look at them. Can I plead insanity or something?
Get an IQ test.
Yeah. Get an IQ test, because if I was a lawyer, I would like, hey, let's do an IQ test. Maybe it's low enough that I could save you guys.
God damn.
I mean, there's two things that is basically defending Jews all around the world. Okay, one is Zionism. The other one is, for some reason, the enemies of Jews have very low a retardation of the enemies of the Jews. Yeah. These are the two powers that are stopping Jews from being killed. Oh God!
Oh my God! No, it actually is so bad. When I'm talking about three idiots, I usually mean the movie, not these assholes.
Right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
All right, let's keep this going.
I think Dee was making a joke. I don't know if you started it earlier in the chat when she was saying like, "Oh, it sounds like an operation of the Islamic Republic." I don't think she means that like literally. Oh yeah, no, it is as if Iran sent them, but in the sense that like it's so the job was so shit.
I highlighted it when she said that. It was so good.
To quote a report I read about Iran, is like low level of professionalism. Oh my God.
All right. What is this one guy saying?
This person is saying they will come out of jail more radicalized than ever. Honestly, I did worry about that though, because we've covered on the channel how there's like jihadi indoctrination in the UK prison system.
Yeah, this is a problem with the UK. Like incompetent terrorists, like UK, like, well, let me actually. The UK government are like, okay, these people are not very good at kidnapping Jews. Let me put them into a system and put them in touch with professionals, and then maybe they will learn a thing or two. And then next time that I put them out, they will actually carry their job more effectively. That's what the UK does. Yeah,
so bad.
All right. So here.
So this guy had a video and he was kind of going over the basic facts of the case. But then what he says at the end is basically because of how the UK justice system works, he thinks that they'll be out in like 4 years. And he's like, well, if I think they should be basically deported back to wherever they're from, blah, blah, blah. Now, I can almost guarantee that every single one of them is a born British citizen. So I don't think that's a possibility. But can you scroll down?
Okay.
Oh, and then this is what pisses me off. Indeed knows how to find the social media comments that'll piss me off. Saying and this wasn't expected after the genocide Israel's committing and settlers eyeing up Palestinians' land to take it. Sad, but for Israelis, it's FAFO. This man, like, again, oh my God, this is like an exact demonstration of the attitudes that leads to this bullshit happening. That's what's so frestrating. Just by nature of the man's freaking nationality.
I mean, let's like, even if we lived in this these people's worlds, and let's say like, oh, okay, Israel was committing a genocide, which is not okay, and you know all these other things that they lie about was true, actually. Okay, I mean, this guy is a musician in the UK. Like, why are you blaming him? Like, why? This is victim blaming. This is like he had nothing to do with any of that. Okay, unbelievable.
Kenny is asking, what does
Yeah.
FAFO mean? FAFO means fuck around and find out. Wait, let me pull up the FAFO scale. I live my life by the FAFO scale.
Oh, this is Tommy. Tommy posted something about this.
Wait.
They were so confident that this is going to work. They were like, we have Allah on our side. What could go wrong?
Yeah, we have 100% faith.
Yeah.
Wait, is it going? No. I hate the new adjustment to stream.
Stop.
Wait, what are you doing? Is
Here we
that the
go.
video? Oh, there you go. Yeah.
This is
Oh.
FAFO. How much you fuck around is correlated to how much you're gonna find out.
Oh, really? The correlation is 1-to-1?
Yes, it's a 1-to-1 correlation.
1-to-1 correlation. Okay, interesting.
You mess around too much, these consequences, you're gonna find out.
Honestly, I was expecting that to be exponential rather than linear. I didn't know it has a linear 1-to-1 relationship.
Maybe we might need to go back to the drawing board and really determine.
Oh, that was the last one. Okay, we should do the super chats and comments.
Yes. Okay.
Fair.
So Emir is asking, what's the name of the Israeli musician? Help chat. It is Itay. So Itay Kashti.
Yeah, and people were helping you with the pronunciation in the chat.
I thought I actually had a pretty decent blind guess. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, so Kenny gifted 5 Atheist Republic memberships. Thank you so much, Kenny.
Thank you.
Which is actually a very good reminder, everyone, to become a member of the Atheist Republic channel, because Armin is doing some fantastic members-only content right now.
Yes, you do it. By the way, there were a lot of people from Israel that in the chat. They were mentioning while we were doing the story that they said that they were traveling. They would not say that they're from Israel. They will always say that they're from the US or from Russia. Jean was mentioning that. I think somebody else was mentioning that they're from the US. And it's just like, it's just so sad to feel like the anxiety that you have to deal with being Israeli around the world. It's just insane.
Yeah. Infinite Oneness gave a super chat saying, when I listen to the azan and Muslim raises tone, especially in the starting, the more he raises tone, the more I feel like Aisha is crying for help. Well, I'm going to be honest, that's quite the projection.
Yeah.
It's just a style of singing. Like, look, I know a lot of people don't like nasheeds and stuff, but nasheeds is like a very technical way of singing, like it's.
I don't like it.
It does work. I know you don't have to like it, but I'm saying that it is itself a skill. It's a very stylized way of singing and vocalizing. It's to do it very well. It's not easy.
Yeah. Also, Aisha herself, by the way, when she turned 18, she copied everything Muhammad did, and she was like she waged war against Muslims and killed a whole bunch of people. So she was like, just like Muhammad was saying that, oh, I heard something from God, so do this and this and this. When Muhammad died and Aisha was 18, she was like managing armies and managing people by using the same strategy. But instead of saying, oh, Allah just told me a revelation, she would say, I just remembered that Muhammad said this and this and that. So She basically
Well,
was
I mean,
copying Muhammad.
when you're essentially being raised by your psycho cult leader of a husband, you're gonna learn his tactics. You know, she
Yeah,
was
you're
with
gonna
the
learn
man since
tech.
she was 9. She's gonna that's who raised her, basically.
Yeah. And she called out Muhammad, by the way. This is according to Muslim hadiths themselves. Aisha called out Muhammad by saying, like, it seems like God sends revelations to you whenever you want something.
Mhm.
God just sends out a revelation that is in line with what you want. This is authentic
She learned from
Islamic
the
hadith.
best. She learned from the best.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Gaijin gave a super chat saying, "Are prisons rehabilitating brain scans?" And Chinese Communist Party of China brainwashing was my attempt at a compromise. My own empathy stops me from supporting AI guided neuron del. I think he means deletion. Well,
Mm.
that is empathetic, Gaijin, to hold yourself back from complete totalitarianistic thought reform. Totalism. Complete
Yeah.
totalism. Okay, should we move on to the next news?
Yes, let's do. This is actually quite interesting, and again, people. This might increase depending on how Trump's deal with the regime goes. But so these are not rare anymore. This is happening more and more and more, and it's spreading. So just want to let
Yeah.
you know that.
Yeah.
All right. So clappable.
Yes, because we're gonna expose some stuff.
All right. Next news.
Next news: how the Iranian regime grooms Swedish teenagers to kill Israelis. This is some wild stuff. Okay. So, in a shocking expose, CNN revealed that the Iranian regime is orchestrating a shadow war in Europe by recruiting Swedish teens, some as young as 14 years old, to carry out violent attacks against Israeli targets. Using local gangs like Foxtrot and Roomba as middlemen, Iran offers up $150,000 for hits, with messages like, quote, shooter needed for Denmark, shoot to the head, and, quote, take the gun quickly, uncovered in intercepted chats. One 14-year-old, too young to be prosecuted, opened fire on the Israeli embassy in Stockholm at 2 a.m. with a 9mm pistol. Another, aged 15, was caught mid-plot and sent to a juvenile care home. Swedish security service Sapo warns this strategy exploits legal loopholes. Quote, organized crime in Sweden right now is a huge vulnerability that is being used by state actors, said Friedrich Hallstrom, who confirmed the Iranian regime is behind the plots. Tehran, meanwhile, denies all involvement. Of course they do, calling the accusations inhumane and blaming, quote, Zionist and anti-Iranian circles. But Swedish officials are sounding the alarm. Minors are being turned into disposable weapons in Iran's global campaign of terror. So there is a lot to unpack here. And there are a couple reasons why Sweden is the perfect environment for this kind of activity. And this is very interesting actually, because there were some attacks on Israeli sites that happened in Sweden that we actually covered like back a few months ago when it happened. And now we're getting more information about how it happened. And it turns out that some of the people carrying out these attacks, whether it be like randomly shooting at a freaking building or attempting to firebomb different places, it turns out that the perpetrators are like young teenagers. And this is because there are certain exploits in Sweden's justice system that incentivize people to utilize children in their criminal activity. Because basically, If you are below the age of 15 in Sweden, you cannot be held criminally liable, which is the law. If you're below 15, and correct me if I'm wrong, people feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. This is my understanding. You are not criminally liable. And this is because of Sweden's traditional attitude towards criminal justice, reformation, juvenile delinquency. Um, and so that's like, oh, that's not the best way to treat a young person who's been involved in crime, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to be criminally liable. Like they're too young, blah, blah, blah. The problem is that I'm just going to keep it all the way real. I'm going to keep it all the way real because this is my understanding. I'm not the most knowledgeable about this topic, but I do have some familiarity, which is basically, here in America, at least, we have this idea of the Scandinavian countries as having this like beautiful, progressive attitude towards criminal rehabilitation and these like beautiful facilities that are so nice for their prisoners. And it's not about punishment, it's not about being punitive, it's about rehabilitation and preventing recidivism by keeping them, integrating them back into society. Look, we have I don't know, we have this stereotype about Scandinavian criminal justice being like very kumbaya, unicorns and rainbows over here in the US, and many prison reform activists point to the Scandinavian countries as a model that we should start moving towards. Well, here's the problem, and this is a saying that I have heard, and it's basically a saying like, the Swedish have been peaceful so long that they've forgot that they can bleed too. Which is this idea that like Swedish society as a culture was so peaceful and kumbaya for so long that they forgot about how bad things can really get, so to speak. And what a lot of these prison reform advocates don't talk about is Sweden is having to radically look at re-examining their entire criminal justice system because the gang warfare has gotten so bad because basically they've imported the problem. And there are many different reasons for this. And people can point to, this is being driven by a lot of young men who are mostly from, foreign-born backgrounds, first or second generation immigrants. Maybe they come from a, war-torn country and they were given asylum or something. Maybe it's driven by lack of opportunities for them, difficulty finding work. And then a lot of people would say it is also genuinely because it is very difficult to integrate into Swedish society. And I'm saying that not even like, how do I put this? Like I have multiple friends that live in Sweden, and they are like fully, I guess you could say, already completely like Western in their orientation. But they're just not Swedish. And they have a very difficult time integrating and being a part of Swedish society. So I mean that in the sense of like, they already have a barrier of being like Westernized, like removed. So it should be easier for them, right? But they are talking about like, it's very difficult for me to like become part of Swedish culture and Swedish society. So a lot of people point to how it is genuinely very difficult for someone from the outside to become part of it as like a factor. And so basically this Swedish attitude towards criminal justice has, unfortunately, when you bring in the influence of transnational criminal networks, created a structure where there is an incentive to use children, Because if there is a system that says below the age of 15, you are not criminally liable, any kingpin is going to go, oh, perfect. Who should my foot soldiers be? My foot soldiers should be the people that are too young to get prosecuted, because I want my guys who, come up in the organization that are close to me, that have more trust, that have more skills. I want them to be protected from, the what's the word I'm looking for? Like, from the consequences. I want them to be, sheltered from the full force of the law. So I have an incentive, literally an incentive, to start using children in my enterprise. And this has happened in other places as well. This happens in drug trafficking across North and South America. This happens in the US sometimes. But in Sweden, it's even more extreme, because you're literally not criminally liable. Here in the US, we'll throw a 12-year-old in jail. We don't give a fuck. So that's kind of like some broader background. And if you're Swedish and I got something wrong, like, feel free to correct me, but that's my understanding, my loose familiarity of the issue. So how does this grooming with the Islamic Republic happen? Okay, because we already know that there's like baseline teenage gang warfare where different teenagers are literally using water bottles to bomb each other. I don't know if people know about how like kids bomb each other in Sweden, but it's a real thing that happens. And oh, you don't, dude, look up the bombings with the Somali gangs. It's some crazy shit. So
these are all immigrants, second generation and first generation. Like, what is these just like the migrants community?
My understanding is that disproportionately so, yes.
Of course. Okay.
And it's so bad that Denmark and Sweden, who have had, such a tight relationship for so long, is literally looking at closing the border with Sweden because Sweden's gang problem and how it is being exported into Denmark, because they can just go across the border and do hits in Denmark and go back to Sweden the same day. Like, it's craziness. So they're in this unprecedented space where Denmark's like, no, we're gonna close off our border to you, for our own safety, justifiably so. So how does this happen with Iran, though? So basically, one of the most notorious gangs in Sweden is called Foxtrot. And Foxtrot is a Kurdish gang. And they have a rival gang, which is called Rumba. And they're both Kurdish. And I believe originally, at least Foxtrot, I know the leader of Foxtrot has escaped back to Iraqi Kurdistan, where the Islamic Republic has some influence. And so what happens is that the Islamic Republic basically uses these Kurdish gangs to then conduct hits within Sweden. So again, because the Islamic Republic, when it comes to their transnational repression nowadays, they have very low operational security to go perform these hits themselves in this foreign theater. It's easier for them to go pay a criminal gang, a drug cartel, to go do it for them. And it also gives them plausible deniability, which is a benefit. So what they do is they go hire Foxtrot, they go hire Roomba, and then Foxtrot and Roomba within Sweden, they go groom Israeli teenagers. And it starts out very similarly to how gang initiation generally happens for young people, which is like, there's a guy in your neighborhood, maybe you see him around, like he kind of picks out the kids that are going to be his targets, based on probably who he identifies as available and vulnerable, and approaches the kid and probably like maybe kind of takes him under his wing, like acts kind of friendly. Maybe they have a shared background or something in common, and it's like I can kind of relate to him. Maybe I need guidance in my life, and the gang member will basically kind of slowly ingratiate himself to the teenager with either giving him a lot of money that the teenager can go spend on stuff,
You
or
said
hiring the
they
teenager to
go-
do low level stuff at first, like drug delivery, and then it escalates.
Jewish teenagers, you said?
What?
Israeli? You said
No,
Israeli teenagers? You mean no, I think
no.
you misspoke.
Did I?
You said yeah. What kind of teenagers that go recruit, brainwash? I think you mentioned
Did I misspeak? I just meant like vulnerable teenagers.
vulnerable teenagers because it Israel. I was confused. So like, why
Did
would
I?
they go
Okay, my
recruit?
apologies.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
so
Okay.
yeah, basically, over time they like get the teens to do like some low level stuff, and then and then it'll escalate until they're getting to a point where they're sending them on errands to go pick up pistols and guns in bushes, and then having a driver come pick them up, and then just drop them off at the Israeli embassy, and they're like, okay, go shoot this place. And a lot of the times these teens like have no idea, or they don't even know like what their real target is.
And where are these teens from? Are they from the migrant community mostly, or
That's
just
not
any
talked about.
community?
That's not talked about in the CNN investigation. And I think oftentimes
I wonder why.
the and to be fair, I don't even know how much Sweden releases that kind of information.
I
Um,
wonder why.
but what is clear is that when so in one of the CNN investigations that they published, they show the text messages going on between the teenager and his recruiter, so to speak. And so let me read this to you. And it's like, so here's the teen. He goes, brother, listen, tell him when I'm ready, whenever. And then okay, he replies, tell me when you are in the taxi. And then and now this is the gang leader talking, saying, quick, brother, I said don't turn off until you're in the taxi. Call me, brother. Call me. Hey, brother, call me. Brother, how can you do this to me? I gave you everything. I've always helped you. Now you're not responding to me. And then the teen replies, brother, I've got no Wi-Fi. Only have it on in this one. Like basically, I couldn't contact you. My phone wasn't working. And it's like, okay, quick, behind the bush, blah, blah, blah. Like, brother, we're doing this. I don't know. The constant talk of like brother, it does give me Islamic vibes.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And, I mean, unless there are some commies, I don't know.
So look, that is complete speculation and assumption on my part, and I will openly say so. But it's just a vibe that I'm getting. Because
how is
I
it
don't know
that
anyone else who says brother so much.
right? How is it that Sweden is claiming that this is the Iranian regime doing this? And Sweden has still diplomatic relationships with the Iranian regime. Like, I don't know. Like, if I think, like, if you are recruiting teens in my country to kill Israelis, that's I don't know. Am I exaggerating, guys? But isn't that like a declaration of war against my country? Technically, like,
Especially
isn't that
because
like
it's a
how do we
state
like?
actor. Yeah,
Mm,
it's so bad.
how is it that we're like, yeah, just go listen, like, oh, these people are recruiting my teenagers to commit acts of terror on my soil,
Yeah.
and we still have embassies in each other's countries, and like we're just gonna continue as if nothing has happened.
It's rough because like the gang crisis in Sweden has been described as a national disaster. And so it really is like a perfect environment for this form of transnational repression. So now it's literally it's now intersecting with like international terrorism. Um and so Sweden is going through this like reckoning of like having to completely overhaul and change their whole attitude towards criminal justice, which, kind of going back to what I was saying in the beginning, is kind of ironic for me, because here we hear about it as this like miraculous thing, and when I hear people praising it, I'm like, I think about how it's completely it the I don't know. Again, I'm not the most knowledgeable, but from what I understand, it's like that kind of utopian model that we hear praised here kind of only worked in a very specific environment. I'm like, I don't think this is a good model overall. Because look at what they're dealing with as a consequence.
It only
I don't
works in
know.
homogenous societies, and now that they're not homogenous anymore, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's interesting because these are like, for many years, socialists were bragging about how so much superior the Scandinavian model and the European welfare state is to United States. And now that they are becoming less homogenous, now we're seeing all the cracks in that method. And now, I mean, and now, like, I don't know, it seems like you managed to do all of that, first of all, because the United States was paying for your defense, and because you were homogenous. Now that both of that is going to go away, we'll see if it still continues to be the best way of doing things.
yeah.
But
And also, it's just when people talk about like implementing these things in the US, because the US is literally so vastly larger, I think that would be a major stumbling block of us implementing like the exact same model. I mean, it would need a lot of tailoring, because we're just literally too big.
right.
Oh, we got a lot of super chats. Let's go
Diverse.
through the social media comments.
Big and diverse, by the way. All right, so this one is already just doing the
this
news,
guy
right?
was talking about how he was interviewed for that piece. Okay, let's see this. This person is saying Iran is infiltrating Swedish gangs to target Jewish and Israeli interests in Europe. A report from CNN reveals how teenagers. Okay, so they were just like saying the basics. This person replied, "So to those of us who have above room temperature IQ." Oh, we have a conspiracy here. Okay, so for those that are enlightened, we're talking above room temperature IQ. Mossad agents are using them to raise dissent in Europe, so we approve of the actions being taken in Gaza and gain support for war with Iran.
So
He's saying false flag. He's saying false flag. These teenagers shooting the Israeli embassy, it was the Israelis.
Wow.
And then he has the gall to say those of us above room temperature IQ.
It's so amazing how the dumbest people have the highest confidence sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hysterical because it's like, oh, it couldn't be. It could not be that this perfectly fits within a very well documented tactic of the Islamic Republic.
And people in the chat that keep saying like, yeah, of course, yeah, sure, of course it is. People in the chat,
dude,
you guys are funny. God damn it. I mean, yeah, no evidence, just like, I mean, by this standard, does anything bad happen without the big brain take being that the Jews did it? I mean, that's the standard of big brain takes. You don't like it? Jews did it. That is the sign of an intellectual analysis. Just blame it on the Jews.
No, I consider anti-Semitism in and of itself a signifier of low IQ. So I'm like, okay, cool. I can just dismiss it. But once again, I think the funny thing about that form of anti-Semitism is it's like it's actually it's ascribing so much power to them. It's like, wow, like they're so powerful and advanced, you know? They're doing everything. Holy crap. Like so this person is just like, okay, putting, kind of the descriptor. Oh my god. Again, completely fake news. Desperate move by the Zionists. Stop the genocide.
I mean, how do they know it's fake news? Did they go in? Like, let's say it's fake news. Okay, let's say it's fake news. How did this person find out? Did they go in there and did some investigative journalism, and they dig up some evidence? Like, how do you know? What if it's real? Like, is it impossible for the? I mean, the Iranian regime has done that before. They admitted. The Iranian regime has admitted that they have done this before. So why is this impossible?
Yeah. Actually, that's a good. Wait, Armin, can you repeat that for people that didn't hear our story talking about that? They admit that they do this.
Yeah, they have admitted that they have carried out operations like this before, bragging about it. So how is it? How is this? Like, if this is fake news, based on what? Based on what analysis? Like, it's not like this is not something that is part of their MO.
Yeah.
I don't know how these people think. Yeah.
So scroll down a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. See, this person with the candle, the Islamist. Say, Iran and Shia in general are known for their assassination tactics throughout history. I mean, this is true.
I mean, the word assassination comes from
the Ismailis, right?
Yeah, which were the OG Shia empire before the Safavids, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, the whole word assassination comes from a Shia practice. Yeah, the assassins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just part of our culture.
All right.
Just my culture. So funny. Yeah, I love Mossad has godlike powers. We're pretty much sorcerers.
Assassins versus sorcerers. That should be the fight between the Iranian regime and the Jews. So assassins versus sorcerers. Yeah, that's the thing.
Especially because some figures in the Iranian regime literally do think they're doing Jewish magic. So
yeah,
that'd actually be such a good comic book. Okay, so let's go to the super chats. Gaijin once again proposing his totalistic prison reform ideas, saying rehabilitation, private prisons, and Communist Party of China brainwashing or DMRI brain scans with AI guided dopamine feeds for positive thoughts and electric shocks for bad thoughts. Wait, with social media monitoring and mandated therapy.
What is this 1984 shit like you Asian American keeps advocating for? This is like
this is what he lives for.
Yeah,
he's always on the 1984 level.
You don't need any of this. You just need to get to a point where you could see throughout history, as technology provided more resources for people and more people were better off and more people had hope for the future, wars and hate was reduced throughout history because of that. So as we progress, as technology delivers more food and a higher standard of living for more people around the world, that is going to reduce crime, war, and hatred, anti-Semitism, other forms of racism. All of them are going to be reduced. Just that's how technology is going to help. Not this 1984 stuff that you're advocating for. This is crazy.
This sounds very advanced Gaijin, but at that point, I feel like a lobotomy would be cheaper. Shit. Kenny is saying, I'm worried about my robot vacuum cleaner now. Wait, what does that mean?
Because
why did you highlight this?
Because one of the gang members was called, like, one of the gang names was Roomba.
Oh,
So Kenny was so Kenny was worried.
that's
Yeah.
funny. Meanwhile, I was thinking about the dance. uh Gaijin is saying, I'm trying to be empathetic, but everyone's talking about feeling unsafe. I find mass incarceration and throwing away the key to be a waste. I mean, let me be clear. In the United States, there is a lot about our prison system that can be and should be reformed. However, there's also lots of things about how we've attempted to do prison reformation and in the United States that I think has actually made us literally less safe. And there's some scholars that I follow that present very interesting arguments of like, we actually should be imprisoning more violent offenders. Like the work of what's his name? Rafael Manguel. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting position. It's an unpopular position, so but he has like very solid backing. So Durga, our local Swede giving us Swedish krona. Thank you, Durga. Also, Durga is one of my secret behind the scenes researchers. She said the gang crisis is the primary reason the population is moving more right wing. Not sure why they have diplomatic ties to the Quran after the whole Quran burning fiasco. I know, because remember we talked about how when Salman Momika was burning. Sorry, what?
You said diplomatic ties to Quran. You mean Iran?
Iran after the Quran burning. Okay, I don't know. I don't know why I can't speak today. Basically, after Salman Momika was burning the Quran in Sweden, we covered a story about how the Islamic Republic somehow hacked into or got access to like thousands of Swedish telephone numbers and was like mass texting people that they're gonna do like terror attacks if they don't stop this stuff, like mass sending out these like threats via text, which was like a major breach of security. And and they tracked it back to Iran. So after you do a thing like that, I don't know how you maintain diplomatic relationships with Iran. And yeah,
I mean Swedish.
And then Salman Momika was freaking assassinated.
Yeah, shouldn't I mean Swedish citizens wouldn't you want to hold your government accountable? Like, why is it that we have diplomatic relationship? Like, ask your politician with a country that is spreading terror on our land. Like, they're waging war against us, and we still have embassies opened on each other's soil. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. John gave a super chat. Thank you, John. Saying, Armin, any Imam Khomeini airport memories? Saw it listed in Frankfurt airport on a way back from Tunis, and my USA brain was all, John saw Imam Khomeini airport on a side as a destination at a random airport gate, and he was like Pikachu face, like. Hope y'all are well. Hugs. Yes, thank you, John. I'm glad you had a good trip. Yeah. Yes, exactly that. So, Armin, tell us your memories of the Imam Khomeini airport back in Tehran.
Well, I used to go to the Mehrabad airport, not to the Imam Khomeini airport, so I don't know much about that airport. But I could tell you about Imam Khomeini himself on a plane. The most famous thing that happened about Imam Khomeini himself when he was alive on a plane was on his way back from Paris to Iran, when the Shah had left Iran and the Islamic Revolution had become successful in 1979. And Khomeini was coming back to Iran. On the plane, a reporter asked him if he has any feelings about going back to Iran. And he said, none. He said, nothing. And that's a famous quote of him. that he showed no appreciation or happiness about going back to Iran. And the reason why he said none is because he's against nationalism and celebrating one's land and soil, because he's about Islam, not he's considered nationalism to be an enemy of Islamism. Yeah, exactly. So Sohail is saying, he said he just said one word. He didn't even say a sentence. He said hichi, which means nothing. Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to find the photo. So for those who don't know, it's like a holiday in the Islamic Republic, where they celebrate the day that he came back to Iran. And I can't find the photos, but one of the things that they've done to celebrate this is they have a plane on a runway, and they take a cardboard cutout of Khomeini, and they like take the cardboard cutout like down the stairs of the plane, like as if he's coming back. I can't find the photos, but they are so funny to me.
Actually, I might look this up. I might look at this. There's something so funny about this. Khomeini Mughawai. Let me see if I could find this. Khomeini Mughawai.
By the way, if anyone has not seen the video footage of what happened at Khomeini's funeral, it is one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like hundreds of men like pulling to try to get a hold of the body. Like they have a helicopter that comes in to like take everything at the last second. They're like shooting ARs into the crowd to get them to back off. Like it is one of the probably the craziest funeral I've ever seen. Wait, wrong one. Yes. Yes.
So they do this almost every year, I think, like to celebrate the time that he came. So this is a historic moment when Khomeini came back to Iran and he got off the plane. And every year for the anniversary of it, they try to reenact it happening, and they go make a cardboard cutout of Khomeini, and they just walk him down the stairs. And they act like he's coming, and they have soldiers and everybody saluting him as if this is happening again. And so it's it's kind of cringe. People made let me see if I could find a funny music bit. Yeah, so I might get copyright stricken, but people made fun, like they made a musical about this, calling it the cardboard Khomeini. Anyways, it's so retarded.
Mazdak is saying, I don't know about that, but I will check it up. I know much of these anti-Iranian news are actually made up. What I said about his funeral is not made up. You can literally go watch the video yourself.
Oh, what did you say about his funeral? I was looking for the cardboard.
When they're all like trying to grab the body, and then do you remember like the helicopter comes in to like snatch it, and they're like shooting into the crowd to get people to back off?
There is a world a famous picture of his body being taken out of the
shroud,
the box, out of the box that he's in, and his body just floating over, his dead body just floating over the crowd. This was the world's largest funeral. Like no funeral has ever been this big. I don't know if I could find the image right now. It was absolute. It's a very famous picture that got a lot of awards. It's kind of dark though. I think I found one of them. Yeah, do you guys want to see it? This is the big. I don't know if you guys want to see this. It's kind of like messed up, but yeah,
it's a little graphic.
Yeah, I can show this version. I could show it. I could show the version before he got completely taken out. Yeah. Okay, I will show you this one.
I found part of it too. It's not that crazy. It's a little crazy.
So this is the beginning of it, where they were eventually they completely tore all of that, the shroud away, and he was just his dead body was just floating. So this is Khomeini's funeral, and they lowered his body. I mean, the people got hold of his the box what is it called, the tomb, the thing that he's in, and they took him out, and then people were worshiping him at that
They
time,
were like
right?
in a frenzy. I
And
would describe it as a
they were,
frenzy.
yeah, it was a frenzy. It was crazy. If you actually go watch the videos of this event, this is the largest gathering of people in a funeral in history. I mean, I think if I'm correct about this, if I remember, this was the largest gathering of people in a place, like one of the 10. So I know the highest one was in India over a religious festival, but the funeral of Khomeini was one of the top 10 highest gatherings of people in a place in history. And if you go look at the views, the crowd, the number is unbelievable how many people showed up. This is back in the day where Khomeini was actually popular. And this is the videos of his body being taken out of the shroud, and his body just a dead body of Khomeini just floating over all of these people, and people like treating it like it's a body of a god or something. This is something that I never knew growing up in Iran. This is a part of history that the Iranian regime tries to hide. They're very embarrassed about this happening. And when this was happening, the helicopter was trying to go in, get the body back, and we never knew this as kids in Iran. Like I learned about this after I left Iran. So
Yeah, wait. When Queen Elizabeth died, there was someone who made a comparison video. Let me just pull this up. Wait. God, I hate the new StreamYard feature. Okay, here we go.
yeah, no, I don't know what they did that. Why they did that. No, wait, stop the music, stop the music, stop the music, stop the music. Wait. Mute it. Yeah, because we might like. Oh,
wait,
yeah, that's.
Where does the helicopter come in?
Shit, look at that.
Look at they're trying to rip it back from the crowd.
Yeah. So there was actually fight. Like people were trying to save the body. Oh, look at everybody. Everybody is trying to get a last chance to kiss the body, touch the body. They think they're gonna get like.
Wait, when the helicopter comes in, this is where things get crazy. Look at, they're like shooting back up. They got the water cannons out.
Oh, eventually they save the body.
Dude.
Oh, the coffin. I was saying, yeah, why couldn't I remember the word for coffin today? Thank you, somebody.
This guy fainted.
Yeah, these are so many people fainted.
CPR.
Some people were trampled.
Yeah. Absolute craziness. This is what sticks in my mind.
Yeah. Like people like they shouldn't have taken the body into the crowd because they didn't realize that people were so gonna go crazy and they want to touch it and they want to kiss it. People thought like that day when Khomeini died in Iran, for these people, it was like God died. Like it was like that's how the people felt. Like they felt like their entire, because a lot of people at that point like didn't even imagine Khomeini dying. Like they were so attached to Khomeini that they didn't believe that he would actually die. Some of these people actually thought Khomeini was the Mahdi himself.
Didn't some people think that he was gonna come back?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just thought, I know some people thought he's never gonna die. But yeah.
Maybe I think I'm confusing it with something else. Anyways, that was a little bit of a detour.
Yeah.
Asian American. That's a fucking biohazard.
Yeah. I mean, saying, what year was that? I think it was when I was 2 years old. Wait, what was that? How old was I when Khomeini died? Khomeini.
Oh, I'm about to expose his age.
1980. Oh no, I was older. Okay, 1989. So I was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was 6 years old with Khomeini dying. Okay.
Coming out of the closet as a millennial. No.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, can I just
Some more-
quickly say something? Guys, this is really funny. So Armin has been having on the Persian side of Atheist Republic a little bit of a back and forth drama feud with another very large Persian YouTuber. And one of the other Persian YouTuber, there was the big falling out, and he came at Armin. He was like, "You have no respect. Like I was in prison when you were a kid 20 years ago." Blah blah blah. And Armin is like,
So you
"Yeah, what are you talking about? I'm the same age as you."
No, I'm older than him. Like he was
You're
like,
older than him.
yeah.
I just look 20 years younger than you, bro.
Yeah, he was trying to diss me. He was like, "You shouldn't talk because I was doing activism when you were 2 years old. I was in jail when you were 2 years old." I'm like, "Dude, I'm older than you. What are you talking about?"
Like, I just look too good.
Yeah.
What a compliment,
and
though.
yeah, and I was like, "Guys, this," and on the Persian show, like, "Guys, this is why you should drink more water, get more sleep, exercise." Yeah, you're right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyways, that was a detour, but I think it was worthwhile for people that didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that history. We have 3 more super chats, by the way.
Oh, we do. Sorry, I forgot.
Yeah.
Okay, so oh no, we did that one. John gave
Yeah.
a super no, and we did this one.
Oh no, we
Okay.
did that. Yeah, there's one
Okay.
more.
So Gaijin gave a super chat saying, "Have they considered getting a Chinese back-flipping robot carrying a petri dish with Khomeini's cloned brain cells?" Well, I think that would actually be a much better way to memorialize his memory. Send that down the stairs of the plane with backflips.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna make a robot version of Khomeini one day to reenact his return to Iran. One day. Yeah. You know, if I wouldn't get copyright stricken, I would like play the music for the anniversary of the victory of the Islamic Revolution of 1979, and I would like go over the lyrics for you. They're like, like for example, when the Shah left and Khomeini came back, parts of the lyrics is like, "The beast left Iran and the angel came back." So it's like I wish I could like play it and review the songs for you guys when in the stream. It would be interesting.
I'm going to be fully honest. There are some pro-regime songs that are very catchy. There's one pro-regime song that I unironically listen to because it's so catchy.
Khomeini, Imam
Yeah, that's one of them.
That's the one. I knew that's gonna be the one of them. Yeah.
No. And then there's the Iran, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah, Iran. And then the rest of the lyrics come in, but they're like Iran, like the land of like blood and smoke, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yes. Yeah. At first, yeah, you're right. The song sounds very cheery. Like Iran, the land of blood and bullets. It says.
Yeah. You know which one?
Okay. Oh my god. What? Like I it's so interesting because we used to sing this as kids and we didn't actually pay attention to the meaning. And now, as an adult, I'm like listening back to them. I'm like, what the fuck is this song? This guy's the lyrics doesn't actually match the tone of the song.
Wait, who knows which one I'm talking about? Oh yeah, no, and part of it goes like, and then it's like Allah, 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 Allah. Da, 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 da. But it has a vibe. It really has a vibe. I think it's from the Iran-Iraq War too.
Oh my god! Oh god!
So
You should
catchy,
come
though.
and explain this on the Persia. You should
Dude,
come on
people
the
rip their
Persia or a
hair out. They'll
Persian.
be so pissed at me.
No, they will love it. It would be
Really?
so funny. Yeah, Ragbor exactly. Some Iranians in the chat are saying like Ragbor Sal. They're like, oh, the bullets flying in the air, like la 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 la. Like what the fuck? Like,
Oh
why
my
are you
God.
this? Why are you so happy about describing a war zone? Why are you so cheerful? Like, oh my god. Oh god, this should be its own segment on the Persian channel. Okay, we should do this. Yes. Okay, all right.
I love that song though. It's so catchy.
Yeah, it is catchy. It is catchy. I give you that. Okay. All right. We should go to the next one. Yeah. Okay, can we clap for the next news?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, this is actually my favorite news today. All right, next news.
Why did a U.S. official tattoo infidel on his arm? Defiance or Islamophobia? Okay. Controversial take here. Okay.
What? I mean, isn't Islamophobia defiance anyways? Like, why not both? But yeah, go on. Okay.
¿Por qué no los dos? U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is under fire again, this time for a tattoo that reads Kafur in Arabic, an Arabic term for non-believer, which some critics say sends an unmistakable message of Islamophobic provocation. The tattoo, revealed during a March visit to the joint base Pearl Harbor Hickman, sparked a wave of outrage from Muslim American advocates and civil rights groups. Quote, "This isn't just a personal choice. It is a clear symbol of Islamophobia from the man overseeing U.S. wars," says activist Nardine Kiswani. Hegseth, already controversial for past tattoos, like a Crusader's cross and the phrase Dios vult, is now facing accusations for promoting far-right crusader aesthetics and importing those ideas into U.S. defense policy. CARES, meaning the Council of American Islamic Relations, executive director Nihad Awad added, quote, "Tattooing the Arabic word kafir is a display of both anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity." Well, Hegseth has not responded to the backlash. The controversy once again raises questions about the ideology and power at the highest levels of the U.S. military. So I wanted to talk about this news for a couple of reasons. One, because of this tattoo in general. And two, I wanted to talk about how the media covered this, specifically why, as the people commenting on this, the people who they quote as giving the Muslim American perspective on this are activists like Nardine Kiswani and Nihad Awad, who are leaders of organizations that are explicitly pro-terrorism. So I want to talk about the tattoo, and I also want to talk about how the media is saying that basically, oh, the Muslim civil rights voice is saying that this is Islamophobic, and the people that they're quoting as giving that perspective are pro-terrorism. So, and I find that problematic. So I want to call out the media a little bit. But let's get into this tattoo in general, because I find it very interesting. There are a couple different ways that this could be perceived, but Armin, first let me get your reaction.
Yeah, I'm actually pissed. The hypocrisy here. This is obviously kafirophobia. How is this Islamophobia? The whole point. So, guys, if you can't see the tattoo, he has it like here in the picture. He has it here. He says the word kafir. You guys can see it in the picture, right? Mm-hmm. And honestly, I want that tattoo now. I don't have a single tattoo on my body, and if I get one, I'm gonna get that one, kafir. But the point of that tattoo, where does that word come from? It comes from the Quran. The Quran constantly identifies the kafir, which is the kafir, we say in Persian, which is the unbeliever, as deserving of death and eternal fucking torture. The whole book, the entirety of the Quran is a kafirophobic, basically a phobia against kafir unbelievers through and through. And the fact that you're offended by the word, because it's not even saying it's not saying anything against Islam or Muslims. It's like, hey, I'm a kafir. I mean, he is a kafir. I mean, it's accurate labeling of the person. According to the Quran itself, this man is a kafir. It's a kafir.
The kuffar, 100% he does.
So he is what the tattoo says. Like this is Quranic. The messaging on his body is Quranic. He is what he says he is according to the Quran itself. The fact that you're offended by him and who he is and that word, the fact that you see that word as something taboo and bad shows that you guys are kafirophobic. You have phobia against unbelievers. Why is that even an insult? Why is that even a taboo word? And you're calling you're demonstrating that Islam and you guys are kafirophobic. Like you know what it looks like. It's like, imagine if you're a whole bunch of Nazis and a Jewish person identifies himself as a Jew among you guys. You know. And like, yeah, I'm a Jew. Like I'm a proud. Like I'm gonna wear a T-shirt saying "proud
and they're saying
Jew."
This is a provocation. This is a provocation.
Yes, like, oh my God, our Nazi ideology. We are offended as Nazis that this person is walking around among us and just
provoking us by showing his Jewishness proudly.
Provoking us by demonstrating that he's a Jew. Like, doesn't he know that that's a Jew is an offensive word to us? That's basically what's happening here.
It's so ridiculous. Can I talk about how disingenuous these people are? So one of the statements made by Nihad Awan, again the ED, the executive director of CARE, is saying tattooing the Arabic word kafir, which refers. Okay, this is how he phrases it. Armin, listen to this. This is how he phrases it. Which refers to someone who knowingly denies or conceals fundamental divine truths.
Bullshit.
That's how he defines kafir. What is not said in that statement is that the denying of the fundamental divine truth means someone who knows Islam to be true and rejects it. It's about Islam and the Quran as the divine truth. It's not just general, oh, he's rejecting divinity or something, which people who are actually like religious care about. Well, I'm not, but I thought that framing was so dishonest.
The Quran makes it clear. Anybody who hears, knows, has any clue about the revelation of God and denies it is a kafir. The Quran has made that absolutely clear. If you know that the Quran is a thing and you do not believe in it as the revelation of God and you do not believe in the Muhammad being the messenger of God, then you're a kafir. That's it. It's that simple. And because the Quran is very, very anti-kafir, a lot of Muslims, modern Muslims, again, if you go read 1,200 years worth of Islamic writing and like the ulama, the people who did the tafsir, the hadith, it was clear about what the kafir means. But the new modern reformist Muslims are trying to say, like, no, this is somebody who has been convinced that Islam is true, but is denying it anyways as a way to try to justify the eternal torture and the kafirophobia inside the Quran. And this is a modern interpretation that is only a few years old compared to all these years of native Arab speaking scholars looking at the Quran and coming up with the conclusion like, no, if you hear about the Quran and you deny it, that's it, you're a kafir.
Yeah, I think Kenny is saying, then I'm a kafir? Oh, you didn't know that?
Yes. Oh, yes.
You are.
Oh, yeah.
The vast majority of us here are.
Yes. If you're not a Muslim, you're a kafir.
Yeah. And
so, if they're going to be offended by that, I suggest more people if you don't want to get a tattoo, get a Kafur t-shirt. You know what? We should make a Kafur t-shirt. How about that? And sell it on our channel. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
Dude, there's so many things about the way that they framed this that I find so dishonest. The idea that this tattoo is a provocation is so it frustrates me because it's so clear that what people don't understand is like, especially to the mind of an Islamist, the existence of a kafir like having freedoms in their own land is itself a provocation. Not even like any aggression, right? But the but the existence of these freedoms in and of itself like is the provocation. So it's just so rich to me. It's so rich to me. And what I think, but let's look at it from a different angle. Like, is there anything about this critique that maybe is like legit? Okay, let's think about it. Some would say that in his position as the US Defense Secretary, like displaying this kind of tattoo is inappropriate because he has thousands of Muslim Americans within his ranks that, this could be like offensive to them, blah, blah, blah. Or because actually there's Muslim Americans are disproportionately represented in our armed forces. And then other people could say, look, the whole Kafir tattoo thing is actually pretty common among veterans of the war on terror. And so people who are familiar with like the veteran community, there's a lot of like merch that they have that it has infidel things because it became kind of a word of defiance for people who were fighting like the jihadi threat, like on the front lines. Like I remember I went through a phase where I was watching a lot of interviews with veterans from the war on terror. And there was this one guy who was in the special forces, and he was talking about his experience of watching videos of ISIS members crucify a Filipino truck driver who had been contracted to work in Iraq. And that truck driver was taken and crucified on the side of the road. And watching the video of it, because this was after he had gone on a mission to go find the people that did that and eliminate them. And after he had completed the mission, he was like asking his superior, like, why did you want me to go after that guy in particular? And then that's when they showed him the video after the fact. And they were like, yeah, no, I'm facing pure evil. I'm going as hard as I can in absolute defiance against everything I'm seeing right now. So for someone in their armed forces, like the idea of like that man that he watched being crucified, like that happened because he's a kafir. Like I'm a kafir. Like I'm in opposition to this. I'm in defiance of this. So it kind of became like that word kind of became more common. And so that's why you see it kind of in the veteran community more. Now, some people would say, oh no, this is clearly more of a far right thing because one, they always point to one of the Proud Boys, the leader of the Proud Boys, who also was a vet from Afghanistan, having a Kafir tattoo. And they point to examples of men that were in the English Defense League, using a lot of like Kafir imagery or Kafir tattoos. And so they say that this is all part of a far right thing. Other people are pointing to Pete Hegseth's other tattoos and his whole vibe, which is very like crusader-y vibe. And so I think that's a more like on the spectrum of legitimate criticism. I think that's like a more legitimate criticism, and they're like, look, there's a whole vibe going on here, and this whole vibe is giving a very clear message of like crusader, clash of civilizations messaging, which is a aesthetic that is becoming more popular in certain circles right now, because they certain people, Christian nationalists, there's many different kinds. I'm not going to categorize into one label, but do see a lot of stuff going on in the world as a attack upon Christian civilization, Christendom. And so they adopt a lot of imagery of like previous crusades and stuff as part of their identity and kind of their aesthetic and what they put forward. And some people see that as inherently oppositional to Muslims. And I would say, personally, I think it's more inherently oppositional to Islam, because Islam as an idea is inherently oppositional to them. But I do find a lot of like the Crusader LARPing pretty cringe.
Yeah, but I like the Kafur tattoo. And I also want to mention that people say like, oh, but he's commanding over Muslims and there are many Muslims within his rank, and some that they might find it offensive. Would they say the same thing if he had a Star of David tattoo?
He actually does have Hebrew tattoos. He has Hebrew tattoos.
Yep. Yeah, but did they say no? Like let's forget him. Let's say another commander who had a Star of David necklace or a Star of David tattoo. I mean, when it comes to being what Islam is against, Kafirs, Murtads, and Jews are on the top of the list. Okay, and I would think like actually Murtads and Jews are actually above Kafirs when it comes to how aggressively Islam. So I think the highest people Islam is against would be Murtads at the top, and then the Jews, and then the Kafir, right? So, by the way, proud Murtad right here. Murtad means apostate, by the way, for people who don't know. So if somebody, so given that being a Jew is more offensive than being a Kafir, so should somebody who is has a Jewish tattoo not like be commanding over the Muslims in the army? Like somebody to explain, like it's just too. It's not politically correct to say that, because we have successfully demonstrated how disgusting being anti-Jewish is. We need to just be more, do more activism to also stigmatize, to also make sure that people understand that kafirophobia and murtadophobia, which is also both of them have deep roots in Islam, are as vile and disgusting as anti-Semitism. Yeah.
And it's like a new tattoo, by the way, because his tattoos had like previously caused controversy, and this is just kind of a new reveal in some like social media posts he made. And by the way, as someone who is tattooed, I have respect for the placement. People might not know this, but this is like, that's a very painful place to get tattooed, and it's bold and it's just black work. So for the nature of the tattoo itself, I'm like, I know that was painful. Respect. Yeah, it's a very painful place to get tattooed, and also just the type of the tattoo itself. Anyways, so I don't know. When taken within the whole Crusader vibe, I kind of get like some people being like, "What the hell?" But the actual critique from Nardine Keswani and Nihad Awad, excuse me, that was promoted pissed me off so much, because I'm like, you guys have a lot of nerve being tapped to give the Muslim civil rights perspective when you guys are explicitly pro-terrorism. Like, for example, Nihad Awad publicly celebrated the October 7th attack, saying the people of Gaza only decided to break the siege, the walls of the concentration camp on October 7th. Yes, I was happy to see the people breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land, walk free into their own land, which they were not allowed to walk in. And yes, the people of Gaza have a right to self-defense and the right to defend themselves. And yes, so yeah, he called the Gazans were victorious. Israel did not scare them because they knew their heaven is in Gaza and they would like to die. They will go to another heaven. This is the faith of the people of Gaza. Not to mention the fact that Kerr is an unindicted co-conspirator in a case involving literally funding Hamas. I also want to point out the statements of Nardine Keswani. If people are not familiar with the work of Within Our Lifetime, or WOL as they're known, they are a nasty group. They are one of the nastiest pro-Palestine groups in the US. This is a group that has made statements such as supporting Palestinian liberation is supporting by whatever means necessary it takes to get there. We must defend the Palestinian right to resist Zionist settler violence and support Palestinian resistance in all of its forms by any means necessary, with no exceptions and no fine print. So that's an explicit endorsement of terrorism. Here's another statement endorsing campaigns of destruction in the United States. Our duty as people here in the belly of the beast is to use all available means to support the Palestinian resistance, which is just another way of saying Hamas, by the way, and degrade the capabilities of the United States to wage war, not just on Palestine, but oppressed peoples all over the world. So I just get pissed when I see these two people being pulled by the media to like give statements on what is the Muslim American perspective on civil rights. Like it's so rich.
Yeah. I mean, they're supporting the October 7th, which like one of the most brutal, disgusting acts of terror in our lifetime. These people are supporting it, and they're not talking, and they come here and talk to us about civil rights. By the way,
yeah. And they come talk to us about provocation. Provocation. This is Islamophobic.
Right. Can I just mention I'm going to mention something about the crusade thing. I mean, I also kind of find it cringe. I agree with Susie on that they're doing the whole crusade thing. As an atheist, I find it cringe. However, finally, I just want to clarify, cringe is such a much unimportant, milder thing compared to murderous, rapist, terrorists, right? So I just want to I just want people to get their priority. Let's put this in perspective. Like, so for example, if I'm being feel threatened by Islamists, terrorists, violence, a gang of violent Islamists, and I see a whole bunch of other men with crusader tattoos or costumes or whatever, you can bet that I'm walking in their direction and relying on, like, I'm gonna, right now I might file, like, I'm gonna, like, oh yeah, this is cringe. But if I'm in a situation where there's a whole bunch of Islamists who want to come and kill you or cause you, do you harm, if I see a group of people who are claim to be crusaders,
like
I would be happy. Yes, I would be like, oh, I'm so happy to see you guys right here, right now. Right, so there's that. Like, just like, let's put things in perspective.
It's
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's some of the content I find from these crusade types is like so weird. It sometimes goes into like overtly anti-Semitic territory. Yeah, but they have this attitude that I sometimes find amusing. Like they often bring up the Reconquista of Spain because they'll talk about like the demographics of Europe, and they're like, "Fuck, it's so over." And then they like bring up the Reconquista. They're like, "It took 700 years. It's never over. It's never over." I'm like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Dude, people never talk about the Reconquista as decolonization.
Oh,
people never talk about the Reconquista as decolonization.
Muslims do that. Muslims do that a lot.
Well, that's just because they're butthurt. Because they want
Al-Andalus. They keep using it as a warning sign. Like, this is what degeneracy. This is when Islamic values drop in society. That's how they use it to eventually come and take your empire from underneath you without you noticing. This is how the Zionists and the Christians conspire, because they know that they cannot fight the Islamic might. So they come and destroy the foundations of family. They come spread alcohol and swine and degeneracy in the land. And eventually they come get you. So that's how they do it. So
okay, but have you seen what the Spanish can do with pork? Masters
yes.
of pork.
Yes.
Oh.
But
sorry, I'm just.
But that's how they think they will get you
right now.
That the whole like a lot of Muslims think like opposition to, I don't know, degeneracy and alcohol and pork is not just about these things being haram. These things are the values that hold society together, and Allah knew that this is what holds society together. So if you're an strong Islamic society, the way of the enemy is to first come and take your values away, and then basically make all everything you built the base of it weak, and then it will attack you. So when you're fighting against all of these sins, you're actually also trying to keep the Islamic society together. And they use this historic event as an example of what happened to them before, even though actually if you go look at the details, none of these happened. Like it wasn't, it's made up history.
No.
Yeah.
Calvinist, modern far right neo-reactionary and nativists are modern crusaders, no different from jihadis. And this is the thing.
Oh, they're very different.
Well, no, I think part of the reason why some of this crusader vibe really does play into like nasty nativism, which I really, really don't like. I think that's kind of one of my main roots of like my problem with it.
I don't like it either, but they're not the same, they're not the same level of threat. You know what I mean? Like they are, there's something that we could complain about, but we shouldn't put them in the same category.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a cold and cancer. Like they're both diseases, they're both annoying, but they are on completely different levels.
Anyways, so let's go through the comments.
Oh, there we go. I should have scrolled down.
Kafur equals non-believer, non-Muslim. It's like, yeah, he is.
Yeah, and what's your problem with that? Okay, this guy doesn't have a problem. This guy's saying, okay, this is awesome. Okay, yeah, okay, good. In fact, shouldn't you be happy that he has Arabic? That shows that this man is not a racist. He's just a kafir. He has Arabic letters on his body. So he's like, this is anti-Islam and pro-Arab. This is pretty based. What is this? Oh yeah, he was exercising.
So they because they were doing like burpees, and that's how they were able to like see the screenshot. They were like enhance.
Okay, what is this guy saying?
Most probably he is this is some Muslim Satan. Most probably he is a Satan worshiper, believer of the one God, wouldn't have such tattoos. Well, yeah, because he's a Christian. He's a professed, passionate Christian.
These people, I don't even know how. I don't need. These people. We do not need to make fun of these people, because just reading their comments is enough to be making fun of them. That's all you need to do. You don't know no other comments needed. But yeah, let's this.
This person is saying this is stupid and immature.
What, the Quran? Yes, I agree.
No. Like his tattoo, I think she's saying.
I know. Because I'm making.
That actually reminds me. The guy who runs CARE said that this tattoo is a sign of anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity.
That's basic. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. That shows if you're. What is the sign again, Susie? Mention personal insecurity and.
Anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity.
Okay, hostility and insecurity. That's exactly correct. but not about him, but the origin of this, the Quran identifying kafirs. I mean, if you read the Quran cover to cover, you come up with this conclusion that one of the words that is repeated more than any other word in the Quran is the word kafir. And sometimes out of nowhere, the God all of a sudden talks about kafir. He's like, oh, like Moses did this, and then he went there, and by the way, fuck the kafirs. I'm gonna fuck them up in the afterlife. They're gonna have the worst time ever. And then you go all of a sudden change the topic to another topic that is like doesn't seem relevant, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, God just jumped like, by the way, just a reminder, mid story. I know this is not relevant. We'll get back to our programming very soon, but just a reminder that kafirs are horrible, and I am very, very angry with them, and I'm going to fuck them up, and I'm going to fucking destroy them forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, back to the story, right?
We'll be right back.
So if you read the yeah. Right. So if you read the Quran, you're like, oh my God, the writer of this book is like really pissed off. Like you will notice a lot of hostility towards kafirs, and it sometimes comes off as insecure. Like it shows that the Quran, the writers of the Quran were very insecure about whoever didn't believe in the text that you were reading, right? So the whole word kafir, I mean, now we call kafirs like Christians, Jews, atheists, everybody, but the Quran makes it clear I'm talking about people who don't believe in the words that you're reading right now. So it seemed to me like if you read it, it seems like it's telling you something, and then all of a sudden you're like, what if somebody doesn't believe this? Fuck whoever doesn't believe this. Okay, let's go continue, right? So it just comes off as very, very insecure. So when people describe that this whole word kafir is like shows insecurity and hostility, I agree, but not for the people who are reacting to the Quran. It's hostility and insecurity from the Quran itself. But yeah,
I think it's, I don't know. There's a pretty normal cultural understanding that people who have been like abused with a slur oftentimes reclaim that slur, and they're like, yes, I am that.
yes,
and I'm proud of it.
I am that,
You know, this is so common in so many different communities. Yes, I am. And what?
Yes, yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, you hate the kafirs? Well, I'm a kafir. I'm a kafir. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
Like, are they gonna say this to the Iranian ex-Muslim girls I know, like running around wearing a shirt that says infidel? Like they are.
Yeah, I mean, they did that themselves when they say like Islamophobia is rising. They're like, okay, I used to hide my Muslim identity. Now I'm gonna come and say I'm a Muslim. You know what? Actually, how about this? I'm an Islamophobe. Okay, so you identifying as a Muslim is offensive to me as a proud Islamophobe. And also the fact that you are mentioning that you're a Muslim is just hostile to me as a proud Islamophobe, and it just shows you're so
ex-Muslim.
as hostile to me as an ex-Muslim, and also the fact that you keep bragging about you're a Muslim in a world that most people are not Muslim is just, to me, comes off as insecure. How about that? You could brag about, how come you could brag about being a Muslim and that's like okay, and people brag about not being a Muslim and all of a sudden that's wrong? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. John is funny. He's saying, I've seen Muslim commentators say like, yeah, we need to tone it down with the use of kafir.
Yeah, I mean, you can, because it's the half of your Quran. I don't know how you're going to do that. But yeah, but this...
this person's making a joke. Like, with all those tattoos, why is he in the El Salvador prison?
Oh, because it's not the right tattoos.
Yeah. Which is actually a good reminder. Be careful about what kind of tattoos you guys get.
Yes.
It's no joke.
Make sure it's not a gang tattoo.
Yeah. The placement is also very important for that kind of thing. So let's go through the super chats. Durga gave a super chat saying the irony of a kafir tattoo being Islamophobic, but calling someone a kafir not being kafirophobic. Is the media dumb or willfully cowardly? In this case, I'm going to say dumb. Because actually most journalists, when I'm talking about how problematic it is to like quote these specific, figures. Most journalists have no idea like the nature and the statements that these kinds of people make and what they support. But they just looked up like, oh, I needed someone who gave comment on this representing the Muslim side. Okay, who did? Blah blah blah. And this is how like Islamists get so like mainstreamed into media. Because they just don't know. Because they're busy and pressed for time. Noam gave 15 shekels. Thank you, saying, heard about this story. Oh, meaning the kidnapping story. Sent it to a friend who lives nearby, and he said he hasn't heard a word in the local media, and he follows closely. I know, it's super weird that this got almost no coverage. That's part of why I wanted to talk about it. Gaijin is saying, should I embrace my Mongol ancestry and civilize the West with mandated noonday naps? They need to play Dungeons and Dragons to get that LARPing itch scratched. I mean, look, if you came in mandated naps, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all. Also, I don't know, like what remains of Mongol culture and ancestry is freaking cool. In fact, in speaking of, yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I was talking to Armin extensively about how I've gotten really into music from Kazakhstan.
Yes.
And when they celebrate Nowruz in Kazakhstan, they like wear these like super like Mongol outfits. It's so cool. Yeah. More of that, please. Gingosaurus gave a super chat. Thank you, saying, could it be that they brought those two to give bad PR to the Muslims in America? It's like bringing in the most crazy person in the room to represent it. No. You don't understand. This is like literally just presented as this is the opinion of a Muslim civil rights organization to give it legitimacy. Like this is not like we're trying to give them bad PR. It's the opposite. It's like this is legitimizing. Because like I said, most people don't know and understand like the character of who they're dealing with in many of these instances. It requires a lot of like media education. Gaijin gave another super chat saying I've seen many white supremacists call themselves Gentiles. Yeah. This is the whole thing, like the Goyim Defense League, who are trying to say like, yeah, we're goys, like, and they're super crazy anti-Semitic. The Goyim Defense League is one of the worst like white supremacist groups operate in the US. Yeah, so the whole oftentimes the most aggressive, it's less about the Gentiles calling themselves Gentiles and more about like being like, yeah, I'm a goy.
The problem with that is that we don't have like Jewish oppressing non-Jew. Like if we lived in a society,
but they think that there is. That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, if we lived in a world where there were a Jewish authority like being anti all non-Jews, okay, I would actually support that tattoo. But we don't live in that world, and that's why this is like imaginary victimhood narrative. But they think their world is controlled by Jews, so that's why they do that. Yeah.
And ooh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I didn't finish this one. Get a blasphemous tattoo in every alphabet, and then included many languages that I cannot pronounce. But yeah, there's artistic potential there. Equal opportunity offender. Gaijin gave another super chat saying, I'm looking for wedding hanfu right now. So for those who don't know, this is like the traditional like Chinese wedding outfit. I consciously chose Tang Dynasty styles, embracing cosmopolitanism over Han and Ming Dynasty styles. Dude, it's so cool. So cool. For those who don't know, I'm like super into like kind of folk art, folk culture, textiles from around the world. I find it so fascinating and beautiful. So I'm into this, man. like choosing to do like a traditional wedding with like the
Susie
local
has some
traditional
niche
costumes. I think that's so
interests,
cool.
guys.
I have some niche interests, man.
You don't even know half of it. Yeah.
Asian. I mean, Armin has to hear about this all the time. But it has some benefits. Me binging Kazakh music this week. Now my boyfriend is listening and singing to Kazakh music in the shower.
Sometimes Susie goes and finds this Bandari music in southern Iran about this artist that and she listens to it, and then she comes to me and talks to me about like the music theory behind it, and I don't know, some technical things of like most Iranians don't even know. And she's talking to me about the details about the history of that specific niche art in Iran, in southern Iran. I'm like, what the? How does she know? Like what? Like, and then she keeps, and not. Can I tell on you? Not only did she goes and investigates this, then she finds a specific local artist, and then she goes, and because she can't get their merch, she goes and
they don't send merchandise to US.
Yeah, so she goes, creates her own fan merch of that artist, and she's right now in the process of making a T-shirt for herself of that artist because she can't directly buy their merch. Oh my god, we should do a stream on this.
Dude, Mazak saying, wow. Yes, I really want to visit Tajikistan one day. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm literally like, I need to go to Uzbekistan like badly, man.
Oh my god.
No, it's so true though. I'm on this deep level where like sometimes Armin will show, videos of like in Iran people like dancing in the street as it being like a symbol of defiance, right? Like I can tell what city that video was filmed in because of the way that they're dancing.
I can't. She can't. I'm like she's like, oh, I know where this is
like this
based on the dance.
Dancing like Azaris. This is in Tabriz. This is clearly in Tabriz. Like
right. I'm like, Jesus, okay.
It's I don't know. I think it's because this is like, oh yeah, someone is saying Susanna finds awesome music. I see her Instagram stories and they become my favorite songs. Guys, go follow me on Instagram. Link in the description. And my foreign recommendations like Shapur. Freaking awesome. This is just something that I'm so passionate about because it's like it's a real source of enrichment in my life. Like I really find that it enriches my life, and so I'm just a nerd. But yeah, I go way too deep.
Highlight that comment. That's the
what is
no,
it?
Wait, Susie.
Oh no, that was just for us because I thought that was funny.
Oh, okay.
So anyways, speaking of Central Asia, okay. Again, I am passionate that Central Asia is criminally undervalued in terms of culture. Let's go to the next story.
All right. Next news.
Niqab banned, outrage in Muslim majority Kyrgyzstan. I'm excited to talk about this. In a move sparking national and international outrage, Kyrgyzstan has banned the niqab, becoming the latest Central Asian country to crack down on Islamic dress amid fears of rising religious conservatism. Women caught wearing the full face veil in public face a fine of 20,000 Kyrgyz som, which is about $230, which apparently is the equivalent of like half a month's income. That's how like big proportionally the fine is. It's like I'm taking away half your income for the month. Under a new law that officials say is about security, not religion. Quote, there will be no restrictions on the headscarf, insisted Parliamentary Speaker Nulanbek Shakiev, clarifying that the hijab remains legal. Still, critics argue the niqab bans in targets personal freedom and stigmatizes devout Muslim women. Lawmaker Shara Patkan Mazatova, a local proponent of the measure, warned that, quote, when she went to this local area of Osh, she said, quote, every fourth woman in Osh wears the niqab, calling it a growing threat. Supporters of the ban argue that it will help prevent attacks by individuals in disguise, while detractors say it will only deepen marginalization in a country where the role of religion remains deeply contested. So, this is very interesting because we have actually seen this trend in Central Asia. So, a few months ago, we talked about how Tajikistan has also had not exactly bans against the niqab, but they basically banned a more, I guess you could say, like Arabized version of the hijab. And in Tajikistan, when they did this, they said that this is a way to preserve national dress and that the headscarf is still allowed. You can still wear the hijab, but it has to be in a Tajik style, not the Islamized style, so to speak. And now we're seeing a similar thing happen in Kyrgyzstan. And this is because we are seeing this similarity between these Central Asian countries where in their kind of post-Soviet era, not only is there, they're kind of like traditionally Muslim majority, but it's a very different post-Soviet vibe. But, and also there's been these issues of these very sometimes extreme and despotic dictatorships, like secularized, like dictatorships, that there is an increasing threat of Islamists and an increasing threat of Islamization that has been going on from some time now. So, for example, like a very large amount of people from these Central Asian countries went to join ISIS or went to join various militias in Syria. Like now that Assad fell, you'll see these videos sometimes of Syrian activists talking about how they're like upset about these Uzbek militia members that are now stuck here. They're like, what are all these like Uyghur and Uzbek militia members doing here? Like they're telling me what to do. I'm the Syrian here. Like fuck off. That's a whole separate thing. So a lot of them went to join ISIS. For example, the perpetrators of that horrific terrorist attack that happened at the music hall in Russia, at the, what was it called? The Krakow Music Concert Hall, that horrific terrorist attack that happened. The perpetrators of that attack were all Tajik. And so they're seeing Crocus. Thank you, John. God, what would I do without you? They're seeing this rise of Islamism kind of in this post-Soviet era, and this is becoming a big problem because many of the leaders of these different countries are like, look, like we have been Muslim for like a very long time, but this is not our practice, so to speak. Like this is, and also because to a certain extent, the more Islamized your society is, the more it's going to threaten the power of that leader, right? I think that might also be a calculation. But and this is what I find very interesting about the rise of Islamization and Islamists since the Islamic Revolution in Iran, which is really what is why this is spreading around the world, what this is responding to, is that it is taking Islamic practice around the world that traditionally used to look very different, used to be very localized, and it's kind of homogenizing it all into one thing. And oftentimes it becomes a kind of reimagined stereotype of a very Arabized Islam. And you can see this even in the UK, for example. I have friends that grew up in Pakistani families that immigrated to the UK more than 40 years ago. And they would say, when I was growing up in my Pakistani community, my mom would wear her hijab as in a dupatta style, as is the way that my grandparents did it, as is the way that we do it in our culture, in our country of origin. We had our own version of it. You know, the way it looks in South Asia is very different than the way it looks in Yemen, for example. And they're saying, but now, like, we don't wear it that way anymore. We don't wear it in the way of our own ancestors anymore. We don't wear it in the dupatta style anymore. We wear it in the even more conservative style, a more strict style now, which is actually very different than the way that we used to traditionally do it. This is not actually of us. We had our own Islam. Like the way that Islam looks in India, for example, is so different than how it looks in, I don't know, Saudi, you know? And so we've seen this as there's Islamization has come across the world since 1979 predominantly. That's when you see this like explosion. We've seen this homogenization around the world. Like, I have friends from Bangladesh that talk about this. And they're like, this is not the way that Muslims used to be, Bengali Muslims used to be, but now they're becoming like they are Arab. This is not of us. So I think this whole idea of it not being of us is part of what these Central Asian countries are responding to, which is like, yeah, you can go be Muslim, you can go wear the hijab, like that's normal, that's common. But be it in the way that is of us, in this conservatizing of the practice, and which in many ways is kind of this like stereotyping of an Arab practice, is not of us, and it's a sign of radicalization. I kind of rambled for a little bit. Am I making sense?
No, you're making complete sense, and that's why there's a lot of pushback against it. There's a lot of pushback against it, and again, I just looked this up. Apparently, there are at least 10 Islamic countries that have banned the niqab. Kyrgyzstan, with this being, it used to be 9. Now with this is going to be 10. So Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Turkey, and Egypt, and now this Kyrgyzstan now adds to 10 countries, 10 Islamic countries that have banned the niqab.
Like, I used to kind of be on the fence about banning the niqab, partially because I generally kind of tend to be like I don't call myself a libertarian. I call myself like a libertarian sympathizer. Like, I like the principles a lot, but sometimes principles should not outweigh like consequences in realities, right? And so I'm like, oh, well, the state of like government interference, But I've really started to change my mind about it, because so many other countries are like, no, we perceive this as a threat, and we're literally all Muslim. Like, yeah.
The way as a liberal myself, the way I try, because it's all about the balance between laws and freedoms, right? Restrictions and freedoms. We want maximum freedom, but not to the point where you have no stability. So it's always the question about what is the right amount of restriction and what is the right amount of freedom. And I think the right amount can never be decided by one person analyzing the situation and saying this is the right amount of restriction and this is the right amount of freedom. I think the right amount for every society will present itself if the society has enough freedom for it to be able to have, for the people to have their own political representative on all sides to fight it out. And every society will find the right balance if it's democratic enough and liberal enough for the politicians of different parties to fight over what is the right balance for their country and figure it out in a democratic process, right? So I don't think you could come out and say this is the right level of government intervention and this is the right amount of freedom. I think the right amount for every society will present itself in an emergent Darwinian competition between different interest groups, as long as the society is free enough to be able for all sides to be able to express themselves.
Yeah. I think like it's just, how do I want to articulate myself? it's so interesting how like these countries very clearly see this as a overt signal of growing militancy, basically. And they're like, no, we don't tolerate that. But I think because in the West we have such a people can say a lot of shit, but I think in the West we generally actually have a lot of feelings of like being inclusive of the other. I actually think that is a Western value. That we are like, we almost don't feel like we can assert ourselves to say that that's not okay. And then there's also like a guilt element to it. Yeah. And I find this whole thing very interesting where it's like, look, like it's not about being Muslim. This is not about religion. This is about militancy. That's how they're viewing it. And they're like, yeah, go be Muslim, but in the way that we are. There's some evidence that they're like cracking down on men with like extra big beards, for example, like very long beards, because they're like, well, that's also an overt signal of like increasing militancy, and they have a problem with that.
So do the people of the country welcome that level of government interference, or is this too much? Like, what do the people think about this?
Well, okay, I am not the most knowledgeable about this. I'm going to give that, warning, but I believe that out of all the Central Asian post-Soviet countries, Kyrgyzstan is one of the there's like a spectrum, right? And Kyrgyzstan is on the side that's one of the more closed, one of the more despotic. Like if I had to put it on a spectrum. So I don't even know like to what extent people even have a choice or a say so. Like I think Turkmenistan is like I think Turkmenistan might be the worst, and then like I'll put Kyrgyzstan like right after.
So this is my problem, but this is my problem with these types of progress. I like to see secularization from a bottom-up approach rather than a top-down approach. Like I want to see less hijab, less niqab, because the people are moving away from religion and the people are becoming more secular. I think I would welcome that a lot more rather than somebody from the top trying to engineer society and fix it from a top-down approach.
Yeah. No, I mean, I get it.
Yeah, by the way, there's a person called Andrew in our live chat, and he thinks he's very smart and he's very confident and he has some very bad takes, and I'm gonna call him out when I have the time because he thinks he's very knowledgeable, but he's getting some very obvious things wrong.
Wait. Okay. Anyway. Wait. Let's go through the comments like quickly because I'm seeing what you highlighted and this is hysterical. Let's go through this. Okay.
So
this was just a video kind of like going over the basic facts that I outlined.
Okay.
Go down. So this person is like celebrating this, saying like, good, it's oppressive to women. And actually on that point, I was reading an article in Radio Farda about this, and they were interviewing a woman who wears the niqab in Kyrgyzstan about her opinion. And I'm like, this is not the good person to give us an example, because the woman they interviewed is like, oh, well, I didn't used to wear the niqab, but now I get married and like my husband makes me, so I don't know what I'm going to do. And I guess I'll just wear like a medical face mask because I can't wear the niqab, and like that's the best I can do. I'm like, so the person you get as an example of like the Kyrgyz woman who wears the niqab is like literally a woman who's forced to by her husband. Like, it's not sending the message that you maybe want.
This argument, so when being oppressive to women, might be a reason why I would agree with it from a liberal point of view, because liberal democracies are not absolute democracies. Okay, you protect certain groups against the decision of the majority in a liberal democracy, right? So if you want to make an argument for, even if it's unpopular, a top-down approach might be justified for you to ban the niqab, is because you're protecting women. against the men in their family for this to be forced upon them in their community. So you could be like,
Mhm.
even if it's unpopular, it might be actually a liberal thing to do because you're protecting women against this oppressive behavior. Yeah.
So this person is saying, so he's responding to a British outlet posting that's saying, when will our country wake up and stand up for British values? This is proof that hating the niqabs isn't Islamophobia. I agree. It's not. It's like
Yeah, but
you
if it was
can
Islamophobia, that would be better. It wouldn't be worse. Islamophobia, you could enhance it by actually making it Islamophobic. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, regardless, you can point to any specific practice and be like, I dislike that specific practice without necessarily having a complete opposition to the entire idea.
Mhm.
And this Khalid is saying this is liberal extremism. Oh yes,
Well, the only
the closed post-Soviet dictatorship is super liberal.
All right, let's go to the comments. Okay, so first of all, like, can I just call out this? Andrew is calling everybody stupid in the chat, and you're like, "Oh, you guys are not knowledgeable and don't know about things." And then here are his takes. If you call Iranians Arabs, they get offended. They are Persian and white. Andrew, you're actually the ignorant one here. Iran is only 50% Persian. Iran is not 100% Persian. And Iran also has something between, I think, 2 to 3% Arab Iranians. Okay. So Iran has Arabs. Iran has Bakhtiaris, Baluchis, Turk, Azeri, Kurd, Gilaki,
Gilaks,
Lor.
Turkmen.
Yeah, Turkmen. So yeah, no, Iran is not Persian. Iran is half Persian. So you coming here and bragging about, and yet we have Arab Iranians as well, even though they're the minority, but we do have them. And you coming here and talking about your knowledge, you're actually ignorant about this topic. And here's like, it's so funny how some people so confident, like, oh, I'm actually smart, you guys are dumb, and they come and say things and like, okay, actually you're the ignorant one here. And then here's saying democracy doesn't work, republics do. So let me actually tell you what you were trying to say, and you failed at it because you're not very smart. You mean absolute democracies don't work. Republics are a form of limited democracy. Republics are a form of democracy where it's not an absolute democracy. Republics are necessarily have democratic elements within them. So democracy and republics are not a contradictory. Republics are a form of democracy. So we have absolute democracies and we have limited democracies. And limited democracies, a form of that, are republics. And in the modern times, republics which are limited by liberal values, we call them liberal republics or liberal democracies. So again, you're acting like these two are in contradiction, shows that you have very low knowledge of anything political philosophy, and you're coming here again. It's okay for people to have limited knowledge, but the fact that you're bragging about your superior knowledge and coming here and making these obvious mistakes shows your it's funny. It's funny.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go to the super chats and the other comments.
Gasian gave a super chat saying Islamic modesty versus surveillance state fight. It is a fight. And also Zaid is here. Zaid, I missed you. I missed you, Zaid. I'm glad you're back.
Yes.
Yes,
Zaid.
and
Glad you're back here.
I know I missed him. Gasian is saying burqas are illegal in China. Niqabs depend on the region. I mean, again, the surveillance state. They need the AI tracking your face. This is why Gasian is so 1984 all the time. It's just his culture. John is saying there are black Iranians too, right? Yes, a lot.
Yes.
Go
yes.
Look up people from Bandar Abbas. In Bandar Abbas.
And let me tell you this, I didn't know there were black Iranians until I left Iran. Okay, and apparently there are a lot of them actually in southern Iran.
And they make some of the best music. I'm not even gonna lie.
Actually, I remember seeing a kids show that that there was these villagers, the Iranian villagers, and one day they see like I remember this. This was like it wasn't. No, it was a TV series. I don't know if it was for kids or not. But there was this village, and this family lived there, and there was a mother and her children. And one time, there's a black kid. They see a black kid that was basically left alone, and they take this black kid into their home, and they start playing. The kids start playing with it, and the mother and all that entire family, they're obsessed with trying to wash him because they think he's extra dirty because he's black. So this is like a faraway village in Iran, and they have never seen a black person before. And the mother every day is taking this kid to the river and is just washing the shit out of this kid constantly. And you're like, why don't you get clean? And they're all wondering. And this was a TV show in Iran that we watched. So it was, now that I remember that, I should find that TV show.
But what's the moral of the story?
I don't know.
You don't need to do
I
that?
don't know.
Like, it's just his skin? Is that the moral of the story?
No, there was no moral. That was the entire plot. There was no
What the hell?
moral of the story.
Because it's YouTube. Please don't take this out of context.
Yeah, no. Oh, I remember a scene where the kid was like trying not to get washed, and the mother of this family, she was hiding behind bushes, and the kid, and she would jump out and grab the kid and take it for more washing. Oh my god! Yeah. I hope that's somewhere on YouTube. I have to go find that, because yeah, I remember that watching that on TV as a kid in Iran. And they would shove his head, like he would look. The mom would look at it like, "Why doesn't it get clean?" Oh my god! Yeah, I have to go find that show,
Bruh.
and show it.
Bruh. Oh my gosh.
Okay. So yeah, it's like apparently like a lot of Iranians that are not closer to the south haven't seen. I mean, I grew up in Iran most of my life, half of my life, and I never saw a black person ever. And apparently, there's a lot of them somewhere in Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, down in the south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet you some Iranians still today don't know that there are black Iranians. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, this is sweet. This comment from W is saying, I wanted to thank Armin because I've been watching AR podcasts for a long time, and this old Persian lady, well, and then at least this woman speaking Farsi, needed help asking for directions yesterday, and I was able to help her in Pakistan.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Interesting. Okay. Oh, but that's interesting. Okay, cool.
Nice. So let's go to the last story.
All right, clappable.
Well, we don't like this, but no one died.
No one died. Next news.
Taliban arrests men for haircuts and missing mosque prayers. In a chilling display of authoritarian control, the Taliban are arresting men across Afghanistan for daring to trim their beards or miss mosque prayers, according to a new report from the United Nations. Barbers have been jailed for giving non-compliant haircuts, while others are detained simply for skipping Ramadan prayers. These morality laws, enforced by over 3,300 inspectors, have devastated small businesses and deepened Afghanistan's economic crisis. Despite global outrage, Taliban Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzadeh, I'm going to make a comment on that in a second, doubled down, declaring it necessary to, quote, establish a society free from corruption and prevent further generations from becoming victimized by misguided beliefs. One thing I want to say is the supreme leader, whose last name, I've seen it translated as both Akhundzada and Akhundzadeh, which, if that's true, that means his last name is literally son of a mullah.
Yes, Akhundzadeh means born of a mullah.
Yeah. So I mean, if anyone's gonna be your supreme leader of a Islamic emirate, I guess that's the name to have. Just wanted to point that out. So anyways, what's been happening is these inspectors.
By the way, one of the
Go
worst
ahead.
insults in Islam is harumzadeh,
Yeah.
which means bastard, because zadeh means born of, haram means haram, so born off of haram acts means you're a bastard. But yeah, go on.
Mm-hmm. That's why, like, the name for prince is like Shahzadeh, like born of a king.
Shahzadeh means born of a king. Yes, Shahzadeh means prince. Good. Yes.
So basically, what's been happening is that they are doing these things, especially during Ramadan, where they were mandating attendance at prayers, and this was closely monitored, and they were like detaining people that didn't show up. So there, in this report, it was saying that small businesses like education centers, barbers, hairdressers, tailors, like restaurants, were having this giant drop of income because they're forcing like all these men to leave work to go do prayers, especially for like small businesses, or maybe just like a, what do you call it when it's just like your single person business. And so they're saying like that's going to make, the general economic situation even worse. But what I found interesting was this idea of arresting people for non-compliant haircuts, because I don't know what that could be. Non-compliant beard length or hairstyle, or barbers providing non-compliant beard trimming or haircuts. Now, non-compliant beard length makes me have a question. Is it too long? Is it not long enough? If it's not long enough, what are you supposed to do about it if you just can't grow a big beard? Some men just cannot grow a beard. What is that the problem? It's not big enough? Or is it too big?
You're allowed. No, that would be accepted as an excuse. Just like one of the ex-presidents of Iran, Rafsanjani, the people who can't grow a beard, they're called sharks. They call them kuse, right? So this is one of the most.
Wait, what?
This is one of the most. Yeah, look at this. This is Rafsanjani.
Yeah.
This is the ex-president in Iran, and he was one of the sharks because he could never grow a beard, and he's a mullah without a beard because he couldn't grow it. It's allowed not to have a beard if you can't grow one. So this is Rafsanjani and Khomeini next to each other.
But why?
Rafsanjani used to be more.
Sorry, go ahead.
Used to be more powerful than Khomeini, by the way.
Yeah.
But that's another story. Yeah.
Well, maybe he was assassinated, but that's neither here nor there.
He was.
But why are they called sharks though? Why a shark?
I don't know.
Because sharks
in
are
Iran,
smooth?
they say the bravest. Maybe, yeah, I think so. In
continue
fact,
with
in
that
Iran,
joke.
there's a comment saying the bravest woman in the world is the wife of Rafsanjani because every night she sleeps next to a shark. That's what some Iranians say. I don't know.
That's funny. Is it because like, I don't know. I think of like a dolphin. We think of dolphins as like very smooth. I don't know.
Smooth skin. I don't know why they call them
silly.
sharks. Yeah.
So, anyways, I have a question about what does it mean to have a non-compliant beard length? What, Armin? What do you think a non-compliant hairstyle could be?
Hairstyle, I don't know, but there's a lot of hadiths. So for example, we have hadith Sahih Bukhari saying trim the mustache and let the beard grow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not supposed to. So apparently, we have the hadith in Islam says that's why sometimes you see some Muslims, their beard is like the ones who are very religious. So some semi-religious Muslims, they have beard, but you could see that they keep it nice and
they trim it.
They cut it, they trim it. But
then
the very religious, they groom it. But some very religious Muslims, you could see that their beards are just poking out of weird places. It's because of these hadiths. Because like if you're trimming, the only part that you could trim is the mustache. the beard, you just should not touch it. You just let it grow, right, in any directions. And then we have another Sahih Muslim that says cut the mustache short and leave the beards. So we have both Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. These are authentic hadiths that says that you should not be touching the beard.
Apparently, there was a because we know that like Taliban can sometimes act more regionally. You know, like it's not completely top down standardized. In 2021, there was this one region, this one province, Helmand, that banned barbers from trimming the beards. So they were like saying you're not allowed to even trim the beard. So maybe that's part of what the non-compliance is. Can I say though, you know, one thing about Islam that does not get enough criticism is the going beard, no mustache. Because it can take someone who is handsome and doing beard but no mustache and make them so unattractive. And it's a damn shame.
Yeah,
my priorities are you're making all these handsome men look horrible.
Yeah, the reasons why they sometimes they cut mustache completely is because the hadith says cut the mustache short and leave the beard, and some Muslims are like, okay, short. There's no way that it could get shorter than cutting it completely. So that's why they like think they like if I get the mustache big enough and the mustache short enough, the shorter the mustache and bigger the beard, the more Muslim I am.
Yeah. So, and it's a damn shame. Right. Sometimes I'm like, man, if they just let the mustache grow out, like it would help the situation so much. You know what I mean? Like just the beard but no mustache. Because one time I had an ex-boyfriend that accidentally he like was doing his beard and then he like accidentally took off part of his mustache, so he had to do the full thing. He had to take off the full mustache, so it was just like beard but no mustache. And I was like, fuck, this knocks you down like a solid 2 points.
Right.
I was like, oh man, some people have to do this. That sucks.
Like this?
It's so silly. This guy, I don't know. It's a silly opinion I have.
Look at this guy, for example. Yeah, and yeah. So I mean, this guy is still trimming his beard, so that's not right. Or like this. Like this is very short mustache. Man. Yeah. These are still somewhat trimming their beard, so it's still not completely okay. Yeah. Anyways, let's go back.
And I'm like, the lack of a mustache, it's a damn shame. It's a damn
but
shame.
You know how sometimes Taliban does certain things and I'm like, okay, this is not Islam, this is just the Taliban.
Yeah.
This is not, but here, this is actually Islam. Like,
yeah.
This is completely, This is
I
the
still
true
want to know
version
what the non-compliant haircut is, because I'm familiar with the regulations on beard, but not about hair. Do you know like anything about the hair?
Yeah, actually, let me look it up. What about haircuts? I have not seen. I don't
because there are.
I don't know if I've seen
some things that the Taliban does where I'm like, this seems less Islamic and more of you kind of enforcing Pashto culture on other people in Afghanistan. So I'm like, how much of this is like a Pashto thing? Like, I just have questions. I don't know. Because they definitely have their own, like, Pashto men have their own hairstyles. So is it that? I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Okay, I found the hadith. There is a hadith that is against Qaza. So Qaza in Islam is the type of haircut. It's called partial shaving. So, for example, like my hair right now, you see?
Oh,
this is short and the rest is long. Yes. So basically, the Prophet forbade Qaza. So apparently, there's hadith on. This is Sahih Muslim on hairstyles as well. Qaza is shaving part of the head, leaving parts unshaved. So apparently, you either have to have your hair long, or if you want to cut, you have to go bald. So you either cut the entirety or leave the entirety. You cannot do cut parts and then leave parts.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is on
Damn.
Islam. What I have is on Islamic right now.
You can't do a fade?
You can't do a fade.
That sucks because some barbers can do absolute magic with that fade.
So the Prophet himself apparently sometimes had longer hair and sometimes shorter hair, depending on the time, but never cut areas completely. So partial cuts are un-Islamic, apparently.
I still learn things every day. Still learn things every day.
Oh yeah.
Zaid is saying in Arabic it's this. Can you read that?
Oh, Gaz. Wait, hold on. Is that a qain or an ain? It's an ain. Gaz. Gaz. Oh, Gaz. Gaza. 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 Is that right? Can you put
Wait,
the vowels on, Zaid? I think it's Gaza. Oh, so the last sound is Gaza, like that. Haircuts that are considered Gaza were banned in my school when I was a kid. Oh, okay. Okay. Gaza. Okay, Gaza. Thank you, Amir, as well.
Wow.
So, interesting. Okay. I didn't. This was banned in my school in Iran as well. I just didn't know the hadith for it.
Wow. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was very
By the way,
interesting.
guys, see, this is Islam is not just limiting, this woman. Okay, we're like, oh, this is oppressive to women. You have to wear the hijab. Men's look is monitored, and as well. Especially, it was very annoying for us as teenagers, because teenage boys, like, we're trying to attract girls, and we're trying to have the best hairstyles and stuff, and the school made us cut our entire hair short, and we hated that. We're like, how we have no game with like bald fucking heads, like, what the fuck. Like this is difficult. How do we do this? Oh, there's
dude, and you're like a 90s kid, so like they had some cool hairstyles back then, and what was trendy, and you were restricted.
Yeah, we had just like there were some girls that I had specific crush on, and then every time summer ended and we had to go back to school, and the school forced us to cut our hair, I would try to not. I will always make sure that she doesn't see me throughout the entire school year until summer comes. Yeah, I was trying, like, every time even though I had a crush on her, if there was a party or something, I would not go there because I didn't want her to see me like that. I would just wait for summer holidays so I could grow back my hair, and then so I could see her like that.
Okay, but speaking of 90s male hairstyles, what is Mufti Armin? I have a question for you. Mufti Armin, I need your ruling. What is the opinion? What is the Islamic opinion on frosted tips? When guys would just bleach the tips of their hair, so they got the little frosted tips.
Yeah, I don't think that's allowed. I think Islam has coloring, but the red coloring, you're supposed to color, especially your beard, red, because Muhammad did that.
Yeah.
Right? Let me actually look up the hadith.
Are frosted tips haram? I
think so. Let me see.
What would Mufti Armin say about in-sync hairstyle?
The Prophet. So here's the thing. The Prophet said, change this white hair, but avoid black dye. So, narrated by Anas ibn Malik, father who had white hair. Okay, so apparently Abu Bakr's father had white hair, and Muhammad saw him, and he like, yo, you need to color that white hair, but don't color it black. So I don't know what. So black dye is apparently disagreed upon. Many scholars prohibit using black dye based on this and other hadiths. Some allow it except for deceit, like tricking somebody in marriage or battle. What? How do you trick somebody in battle with black dye? Natural dyes like henna and katam were used by the Prophet. So Muhammad colored his hair. And here's a hadith by Abu Dawud, said the best thing with which to change the white hair is henna or katam. Okay, so apparently Muhammad, when he had white hair, he didn't like that he had white hair, so he did color his hair. So yeah, hair dye is allowed. Black dye is controversial and not allowed, looked down upon. Dyeing to deceive is not allowed. So if you're getting married and you're trying to color your hair to deceive your age, that is not allowed.
Oh.
Mm.
I mean, out of everything, that actually has a little bit of logic to it.
Yeah. Right.
Wow, this is so interesting.
Mhm.
All of the there's also, I don't know if people know this, but there's a lot of like rulings on women and their eyebrows.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of things that are you should be avoided because your wuzu, for example, if you color your nails, then when you're doing the wuzu for praying, then the water is not going to be touching the parts of your skin that it's supposed to be, and that would make your prayers invalid. So there's a lot of different rulings in that.
I get advertisements for this like Muslim product where it's like all of these little rings that stick on the very tips of your fingers, like right here. And the rings have like fake nails on them. So Muslim women can like have these little rings that look like they have like their nails done with shellac, but they can pop them all off.
Take it off
right before doing their prayers.
Okay, interesting. And yeah, I think I've seen something like that on somewhere, but didn't notice what they were.
Durga's also saying, I have also gotten those nail ring ads.
Yeah. All right, we have only a few more minutes, so let's do the super chats.
Yes, okay. Gaijin is saying, if I am to be regarded as a fascist, then know that fascists have lost and will lose, for I have bent my knee to a liberal and swore oaths of love and fealty.
Okay, good.
He's like, look, you guys might think I'm 1984, but I have, given fealty. Gaijin is saying, am I a shark? Meaning because you can't grow a beard? You're just too baby smooth.
Yes. Yes, baby shark. Baby.
Also, Arkansas is trying to ban gender non-conforming haircuts. House Bill 1668. Well, good luck trying to pass that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, good luck with that.
And gave a super chat.
This song is not in my head, by the way. Thank you.
I know that. Thank yourself. That's your fault. Saying, what is women's clothes in Islam versus men's clothes? Well, that's a very extensive question.
Oh yeah. So mostly, I'll give you the short version. Women are supposed to cover head to ankle. Only the parts that could be seen is this, hands and feet. But also the feet, you can't have any jewelry on your ankles that could make sound unless you're in private outside, because that could tempt
because
people.
The sounds of your anklets, the sounds of the jewelry on your ankles could be arousing. It could turn people on, so you can't have that. Also no perfume.
I can see that. Yeah, no perfume. You can't do all of this in your home for your husband, but not outside.
Sure.
Also, men's hijab are from the knee. I think, where is it?
My understanding is that it's belly button to knee.
Belly button to knee, yes. So you should be. Oh, by the way, by woman I meant a free woman. Slave women do not have that requirement. Slave women could actually walk around topless in Islam.
Durga's saying she's offended by the ban on anklets. Yeah, girl, they're too sexy. Yeah. You can't have that.
By the way, I made a mistake. I said slave women are allowed to have no hijab. Actually, slave women is beyond. Slave women should not wear the hijab. Yeah. So slave women in Islam are not allowed to wear the hijab. They actually should not be covered.
It's literally a way to distinguish between which are your wives and which are your slaves.
Yes.
And
Oh, we are
Carl
late.
gave a super sticker with no comment. Thank you, Carl. Thank you for supporting the show, and thank you to everyone else who's a member and gave super chats that supported the show, because it's literally how we make everything happen. So thank you.
Yes, and consider becoming a member. And even if you don't do that, at least like the stream. Liking the stream really helps this channel. Okay, guys, I have to end the stream or else we're going to be late. I'm going to have more streams coming for you soon, so make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell notification, and make sure you like the stream. Leave a comment. Your comments are very helpful to grow the channel, and I'll read as many of them as I can. Okay, thank you guys, and see you again soon. Bye.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Fake atheist.